And then we read the public comment, which doesn't ordinarily happen on this line item. So you understand?
Yeah.
If you can follow that. Okay.
Welcome to the City Council Workshop for Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026. Before we start, I would like to change up the agenda. We will not have a closed executive session for litigation. It doesn't pertain to anything now, but to save time, and we'll do it later on a different issue. So, and then if the council has no objections, I'd like to move other items up first above public input. Okay? All right. I will now ask Kurt to introduce Forrest with some news.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. All of us have been subject to questions from the community, and I think we all have been having a hard week. I've had a hard week. My family's had a hard week, and I think a lot of the community members have had a hard week. So I appreciate you showing up and making the government part of your government. So with that, under other, I just wanted to inform the council, we had been notified by the BOI, Board of Investments, that they had annexed, or had purchased land 2 weeks ago at this council. They had announced it, that was their intentions, and to seek annexation. As a council and as staff, it's been kind of tight-lipped because we didn't really know what that impact was going to be. With saying that, the workshop is our first opportunity to speak to the council, speak about the mayor, and speak to the community. So with that, I would like to ask Forrest Sanderson to come up. He was just recently hired as a contract planner. Just going back, just why he got here, for clarification, we had a master service agreement with KLJ that we started in 2017. That time frame on the master service agreement ended on December 5th. So from December 5th on, we had no master service agreement for planning, for on-call planning. That ended with KLJ. We didn't have any planning advice for a little over almost a month and a half. The council just approved a contract for Forrest to come on and help with planning. Annexations, zoning, all that has to do with that master service agreement, or we have a temporary while we go out for permanent planning assistance, if that's the way we're going to go. Council still has yet to decide that. But in the meantime, we needed some help on planning items. I had subdivisions going on. I've got all sorts of things. Can't get to it all. So since then, we've been working on, I think I tasked Forrest with like 5 or 6 tasks, and he worked essentially all through the weekend. And last week took up a bunch of my week trying to get him on speed on all the things that were going on in planning that had to get wrapped up. So with that, I would like to bring Forrest Sanderson up forward to address the council on some stuff, or actually the public's interest this week on the BOI's decision. So Forrest.
Thank you, Kurt. And council, yeah, this is for you, but it's more for your citizens. Right now, we don't have an application pending. That's crucial. We have a stated intent that the BOI would like to acquire land and potentially bring it into the city of Laurel and construct a facility. What that is and the questions that are being asked, we can't answer. The mayor can't answer them. The council can't answer them. And the council can't answer for a reason. You have a duty. You won elections. This is your duty. Your duty is to ensure the rights of all parties. The state of Montana has rights. The landowners and the residents have rights. Your duty is to ensure that those people's rights, both sides, and the actions that you take are consistent with the Montana Constitution, Montana state law, and the Laurel Municipal Code. The first step in that process is we get an application. Full disclosure, I'm going to go back all the way when I first heard the state was looking for a site to construct a facility. And I was like, well, that's interesting. Eastern Montana probably could use something along those lines. We'll watch and see. The announcement comes out, we're seeking interest from communities. Okay, that's nice. The state announces we received applications from Miles City and Hardin, and I'm like, whew, nice day for Forest. I don't work with any of those communities, not my problem, you know, not my circus, not my monkeys. I was sitting here 2 weeks ago at workshop as you were looking at the temporary contract for land use services. And I don't know who the gentleman was on the phone, announces we're looking at I heard 141 acres, but the joys of hearing aids, I didn't hear it right. And I asked the mayor afterwards, where's 141 acres near Laurel? I'm not familiar. And he says, no, it's 114, and the light went off. And it wasn't a dim 4-watt bulb, it was full on bright. I knew where it was. And I knew what the issues were. A week later, you approved the contract. I started worrying about it 2 weeks ago, but last week we had a room full of citizens expressing concerns and issues. And I'm sitting back there thinking, well, this just made my life easy. The pre-app meeting, which we're going to have, most of the questions that I have, the citizens have as well. So thank you for that. You made my life a lot easier at pre-application. But we're still not there because we don't have that meeting. Full disclosure, last Friday, late in the afternoon, I got a phone call from Cushing Terrell, which is a consulting firm. They're professional, very competent, good firm, asking questions about the city of Laurel and planning. And I told them, I'm sorry, I'm driving. I'm literally in Billings traffic right now, and it's against the law to drive with a handheld device in the city of Billings. Call me next week. Monday, got a call from Cushing Terrell asking about our growth policy. It's important, and I'll come back to that. And I said, let's see if we can find it on the city's website. We looked and looked and looked and could not find the city's adopted growth policy. This morning, got in my car, come see Kurt. Where'd you hide it? Kurt says, it's here. It's this path, not the one you were taking. It's like, got it. It was at that point in time, Kurt and the mayor decided, Forrest, you've helped us with complicated processes and projects in the past. We need you to help us navigate this process now. So today at about 11 o'clock, engaged under the contract you approved a week ago to help you navigate the process. I will do my part. Here's what I envision for the public. After I found the growth policy, I was operating from memory thinking this is going to carry some kind of a county suburban residential growth policy and a corresponding county low-density residential zone. I went and I pulled down the growth policy and had Kurt make a bunch of copies for the folks in the audience. I'm going to leave these out on the desk. This is the existing land use, or I can send them around if you'd like, but I'd rather have you pay attention while I'm talking rather than rifling through these. And the future land use map that is currently adopted. And I think for now, I'm going to give them to Tom and he's going to hold them for me. Because what I need to tell you is important, okay? It's more important for the citizenry, and at the end, I've got an ask for you. So if I forget that, let me know. So Cushing Terrell reaches out and they ask about the growth policy. I called them back this afternoon. I could not get in touch with the individual that I had spoken to. I am committed to call them again tomorrow morning and get them a copy of the growth policy, because the questions they're asking are, what is the future land use and what steps do they need to take? Based on the existing growth policy, I was correct in my assumption. It carries a county suburban residential zone. That translates to, and it is zoned, county RT or county R2 20,000, which is essentially a half-acre minimum lot size. The city of Laurel does not have a corresponding future land use designation for the growth policy. We do not have a corresponding city zoning that we could apply to residential, suburban residential county growth policy. First step, they need to amend the growth policy. You ask why? That's in the third step of the process, it's zoning. Let's leave that for a second, I'll get there. So we have to amend the growth policy. The city staff, contractors, Kurt, so forth, we don't have a role in that. The city council in its wisdom determined long ago that growth policy amendments are either driven by the governing body, as the law says, you tell staff, amend the growth policy. If someone from the outside chooses to amend, they incur all of those costs. They prepare the amendment. They prepare the texts. They do the public outreach. Then they, when they believe they've completed it, deliver that to the city council. Your duty at that point, under state law, is to task your planning board to review and make a recommendation on that amendment. That's the first step in the public process. Assuming the planning board navigates that, they will issue a recommendation by resolution to the city council, which will be delivered here. Okay? At that point, you have a duty and a record based on an application to respond to. The next step, assuming that that is successful, is a petition for annexation and zoning. I have told the city council since 2017, annexation isn't a staff decision. It's a business decision. Who runs the business of the city of Laurel? People that win elections. You make that business decision. Is it in the best interest of the city of Laurel? Yes or no? But you can't answer that question until you have the information, okay? We don't know. We don't have an application. We can't proceed. The last step, and it happens concurrently, is zoning. At that point in time, yes, I have a role in the process. That role is to provide an analysis of that requested zone under the 12-point test prescribed in Montana law and recommend to the zoning commission based on those findings. They then have a hearing. They either concur, modify, or deny, and that comes to you for final decision. You also have public hearings, but at that point in time, it's a zoning commission recommendation, okay? That's the process. We're so far removed from that because we don't have an application. We don't have anything to base any kind of an action right now. So what we need to do is wait for the estate's agent, Cushing Terrell, to call for a pre-application questionnaire. I am committed to the fair, open, and honest process that is prescribed in the law. The Montana Constitution speaks to this issue. I guarantee you, and I guarantee each and every one of you, that through that process, you will have the right to know what's going on and meaningfully participate in that process. Fair? Deal? And Steve, I saw you, Steve. I've done this before, haven't I?
Yes, you have.
Did I deliver?
Yes, you did.
Thank you, Steve. So with that, let me make sure I get the notes here. We've talked about the process. If the citizenry, and I brought the growth policy maps because I want you all to see what I'm looking at and why we're starting way back here rather than somewhere in the middle. We can't start here. We've got to start back here. It's back at the growth policy, a very lengthy public process. So what I need right now, I need three things. Two of them you'll give me because that's who you are. This is Laurel. I know you'll give me those. I shouldn't ask, but I'm going to. I need you to stay involved. We've got a very presumably lengthy series of public processes coming our way. So I need you to stay involved. I need you to stay focused on the facts. Okay? There are points in the law. If anyone would like to know what the laws are, you'll find them all in Title 76. Growth policy, planning, annexation is in Title 7, but we won't know what procedure under Title 7 that they want until they submit an application. So you can kind of look through and become familiar with all 7 or 8 different ways for the city to annex property. So again, stay involved, get informed, stick to the facts, and for the interim, because I admire your passion and the concern, but we need to turn the temperature down a little bit. We're getting so worked up about something that might happen, and we can't respond to it. They can't fulfill their constitutional duty with the heat at the level we've got it right now. Let's take it down a couple of notches and stay involved. Get informed and stick to the facts. And please, let's turn it down. Because you're going to have more than ample opportunity. You're going to get sick and tired of listening to me talk as we navigate this process. But understand, I don't have a say except on zoning, and that is the absolute last possible thing that gets analyzed at this. We're going to start with a growth policy. If that's successful, we will deal with the business decision of annexation. And lastly, after that business decision is made, if favorable, we will assign a zone. Then, and only then, will the state move forward. That process guarantees their rights, your rights, and enables these 8 individuals to fulfill their constitutional duty. With that, Tom, I gave you the maps. I will take those out to the table. And again, for cost control, I'm going to leave. If there's a development, I will come to council, or I will reach out to those of you that I know and communicate to you to spread the word. Okay. The first thing will be the pre-application meeting. That's a ways out into the future, I'm sure, but they will happen. Okay. A quick question, Mona. Yes, I didn't see you back there.
This isn't a discussion time. You'll have your time at the 3 minutes,
Well, I plan on leaving, Mr. Mayor. Keep your costs in check.
but it's not open for, okay, Forrest said,
Well, I'll
okay.
tell you what, Mr. Mayor, I'll go outside with Mona, answer her question, so you may.
Wants everybody to hear it, so go ahead.
Okay,
When you receive the pre-application,
Mhm.
that'll come through Carol and Cushing, Cushing and Carol, whatever. Who in this government entity receives
it will be delivered here to City Hall.
and be notified it's been received?
I'll blab to the paper.
We don't get,
Okay. I'm sure it'll be the biggest news in Laurel. And Mona, I have your email address. I'll let you know. Fair enough? You'll get a personal notification, as will Steve. If I happen to know any of the others, I'll let you know as well. Do we have a deal here? Public process? We're going to be open, fair, and transparent. Committed to it. You have my word. And we're starting with getting you the information that I have available right now that is pertinent to the land. So with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you for indulging me. Thank you for engaging me on this. I promise you and your elected council as well, we'll have a fair, open, and honest, transparent process. You have my word.
Thank you, Forrest.
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, next, we're going to have the attorney read in correspondence before, you'll see plenty of them. If you want. We're gonna have the attorney read in correspondence that came in this week.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ordinarily in workshop, we do not read into the public record comments between our public meeting cycle. But based upon the amount of comments coming in right now to city staff, city council, my office, the city clerk treasurer, we are trying to be as efficient as possible in making sure that we've captured everything that the public is stating on this matter and ensure that everything is read into the record. So moving forward on this matter, whether it's workshop or public meeting, we will be reading in public comment that we have received. As I stated last week, a number of the communications that are coming in to city staff, my office, the mayor's office, the CAO's office, city council members are duplicative in nature. We are doing our best to keep those culled down in nature to ensure that all of the public comment is read. If you believe after a public meeting that something has not been read into the record that you have sent over, please reach out to city staff and let us know. It is not our intention not to read these messages into the record. There have been a lot of them, and we are doing our best to ensure that non-duplicative messages are not read and that all of your messages are captured. I will start with January 29th from Shauna. Good afternoon. This was sent to all of our city council members. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time and dedication to our community. We all have lives, businesses, jobs, families, groups, and organizations. So the time we all put forth for our community is admirable. I know you are unable to respond, but please take our emails, conversations, and facts into consideration, I think is considers, but I think it meant consideration when making this massive decision that will forever impact our community. I would like to state that I am not against this facility or any other facility helping those with severe or mild mental illness, special needs, and addiction. These are very real lives for more people than we know, and all these people deserve help. However, I'm against the current proposed location for many reasons. Today, I'm writing to you all about my heart. My family ancestors settled here in 1883 and have been here since. I have lived in Laurel for 49 years, raised children here. This is my home. This is my community. I also opened my business to give this community something it so desperately needed, more places to eat. In addition, I have spent the last 3 years trying to better our community, joining forces on the Splash Park, working with the Laurel Community Foundation on creating a family-friendly space for live music and fellowship at Rock the Block events. I have had numerous fundraisers for the Laurel Softball Complex, Chamber of Commerce, Laurel Fire Association, as well as all the Laurel City emergency services that are so underfunded. Lastly, my nonprofit, the White Buffalo Foundation, has held numerous events to raise funds for an addition to one of the parks for physically and mentally disabled individuals, including those with all sorts of special needs. It saddens my heart, breaks my heart, and makes me ill to see something like the Montana State Forensic Hospital being so close to our recently updated elementary school, softball complexes, residents, and the community we claim to love. This is my plea to vote no to the annexation of the proposed forensic mental health hospital facility in its proposed location. Sincerely, Shauna Hopper, concerned citizen, lifelong resident, business owner. I apologize, just give me. Uh, I apologize for the duplicative nature of some of these things, but for the purposes of a clear record, I will read in everything that has been sent, even if some of it is duplicative. This is an email sent January 29th from Shauna Hopper to our city council members, also copied to myself, entitled Concerns. Good morning, council. As you are well aware, I oppose the Montana State Forensic Hospital prison at the proposed location in Laurel for many reasons. The city of Laurel struggles with finances. We have fundraisers for an ambulance, the city of Laurel's ambulance, protective vests for the police force, bunker gear, new safety equipment, and PPE for the fire department. Why? Because the city does not have the funds. This property could have been provided commercial and residential income for the city, but no, it will not bring income and will become a financial burden in one way or another. Another great option would have been a new emergency services facility, as the current facility is in shambles, leaking roofs, causing the potential for electrical issues. The heat and air duct is constantly going out. There are many safety issues in the dispatch and police area, which I will not speak publicly about, as I do not want to endanger them in any way. Red Lodge Fire was just awarded $2 million from the state for a new station, as bunker gear should not be in the same bays as the trucks for exhaust and potential risk for cancer. Guess where Laurel's gear is? Yep, in the same bay. The list could go on. We operate on a very minimally paid fire department who risk their lives, sacrifice time away from family on holidays for our community and its citizens. This stipend paid department covers one of the largest areas in the state that will now have to have special training and additional risks on calls that will likely occur at the facility. When there are calls at this facility, it will pull from all emergency services, leaving the residents and community with less resources. This will directly impact our community. The safety of our community, emergency services, and our children should be on the front of everyone's mind. At the school board meeting, in parentheses, please watch the video played to get exact quotes and names of individuals, in parentheses. A few comments struck a chord with me. Board member Gayla Gray made a comment in regards to her student teaching time. Children should be scared to go to the bathroom alone. This will add another level of fear, resulting in less productivity in the classroom. One of the student board appointees made a comment about the youth softball training facility directly bordering the proposed location, stating the safety of all Laurel students should be of utmost importance. Two ladies, during public comment stated a few facts about escapees from Warm Springs over the last several years. However, Amber Zahn's comment struck with me the most. She stated, "It doesn't matter how frequent the escapes are, it takes just one escapee to hurt one of our children or citizens." During the September 30th candidate meet and greet meeting at the front porch with the Small Business Alliance Group, questions were asked of Mayor Wagner about the proposed facility. Mayor Wagner stated the state of Montana had asked what the city of Laurel could do to bring the facility to Laurel, and he said absolutely nothing. The city will not give them anything. Well, it appears from the communication released by the state on August 22nd, 2025, the mayor and CAO had been offering advice and working with them anyways. Even if it was just a location, they were encouraging them to look in our community. As a business owner, my main question was about how would this affect the business community in Laurel, i.e., pulling jobs from local businesses that already struggle to find help. He acknowledged this is a real risk that could directly affect my business. Why would it be good for the community to take away jobs from one place to add to another? Is the state hospital more important to the city than mine? As of now, the fear has grown, as it is not just losing employees, but customers as well. People will sell, and although someone else may move in, I now have to figure out how to capture them as a new customer. Less people eat out in fear if their property values decrease. We have a desolate Main Street already, and this will already continue to discourage people from coming to our community. Laurel will continue to struggle instead of encouraging real businesses to come to Laurel that would bring real money to the community and city. I could go on, but I'll save the rest for next week, as this is truly exhausting physically, mentally, and emotionally, as this affects me to my core. This affects me personally on so many levels. As our property borders this facility, my business will be affected, and my husband and son's safety, as well as other first responders I care about, will be directly impacted. Please oppose this location and stand up for our community. Thank you for your time, Shauna Hopper, concerned citizen and business owner. Message from sent January 29th from Laura Kirschman to the mayor, to my office, to the CAO, and to city council members, entitled Forensic Mental Health Facility. Good evening. I am writing to you all to express my opposition to the currently proposed location for the Forensic Mental Health Facility. My family lives at 939 West 4th Street. I have lived in Laurel for roughly 13 years. However, my husband and his family have been in Laurel and heavily involved in the community for decades. I love Laurel and am grateful to be raising my son in this town. It is hard to find a gem to call home that we have here, with that small town vibe where you really feel safe and surrounded by a supportive community. I am deeply concerned with what the consequences may be bringing this facility to Laurel. First and foremost, the currently proposed location is far too close to Laurel Elementary School. My next largest concern is the strain that this would put on our emergency services. I am sure you are all aware of our thinly stretched volunteer ambulance and fire departments. I have heard countless calls on the scanner where our ambulance was either already out on a call or no one was available to answer the call. This type of facility will undoubtedly have plenty of instances where calls will be placed needing the assistance of emergency personnel. I fear bringing this type of facility that will need support from our strained emergency services could endanger the citizens of Laurel at their most desperate times of need. Without having a 24/7 fully staffed fire and ambulance department, I feel this is putting all of the citizens at Laurel at great risk. I beg you all to please do everything within your power to keep this facility out of Laurel. Governor Gianforte was clear in his letter dated 9/10/2025 that due to the impact that this facility will have on whichever community it is built in, it is imperative that there will be public participation and engagement. I kindly ask that the public is invited into the decision-making and discussions as much as possibly allowed as of this project before moving forward, as our governor strongly encouraged. There is a portion of what appears to be Governor Gianforte's letter included in this public disclosure. Everyone can see that when you review the public records. I will not read that. I will conclude that this constituent said, I appreciate each and every one of you and the hard work you put in every day for our community. I would be happy to speak further with anyone if you so wish. There are text message disclosures that have come over to one of our city council members this week that are entitled, and they were directed to Council Member Naylor. Hi, Sarah, quick question for you. I live in Laurel, wondering wondering how you feel about being removed from all city accounts with the CAO now handling oversight. Before I make a big deal out of the tail end of last night's meeting for people, I figured I'd reach out to you directly in your take. And Councilmember Naylor, I'm not trying to intrude in your disclosure of ex parte communications, but for simplification, I'll read this into the record. Councilmember Naylor responded, "Good evening. Thank you for reaching out. I'm a relatively new city council member as I just came on board this month. I'm not entirely sure how these matters are typically handled within the city from a policy standpoint. I would encourage you to reach out to the mayor or city clerk treasurer with regard to any questions or clarification on this matter. Again, thank you, and I hope you have a good evening." Communication sent January 22nd from Bethany Hahn directly to the city mayor, entitled "Concerns Regarding the Proposed Forensic Mental Health Facility Location in Laurel." Dear Mayor Wagner, I'm writing to you as a deeply concerned resident of Laurel and an active member of our community regarding the recent site selection for the new state behavioral health facility. While I recognize and support the commitment to addressing Montana's critical need for mental health infrastructure, I am writing to formally express my opposition to the specific location currently under consideration. My concerns are centered on the facility's proximity to established residential neighborhoods and educational institutions. My family resides off Laurel Golf Course Road, placing this planned site a mere 1.6 miles from our front door. Even more concerning is the fact that this facility, intended to house individuals requiring forensic mental health assessments, fitness to stand trial evaluations, and those found guilty but mentally ill, would be located just 1 mile from Laurel Elementary School. As a mother of 4 with 2 children currently attending that elementary school, the safety and security of our students and neighbors are my highest priorities. Placing a high security forensic population in such close proximity to school-age children and densely populated residential areas presents risks that I believe have not been fully mitigated or addressed in the current planning phase. I understand that the state is fulfilling a vital mandate to improve our mental health system. However, for a project of this sensitivity, the choice of location is as important as the services provided. I respectfully ask that you exercise your oversight to pause this selection and reevaluate alternative sites that do not infringe upon the immediate safety zones of our schools and local families. Our community is supportive of progress, but we ask that this progress does not come at the expense of the peace of mind and safety of Laurel's residents. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your consideration of this urgent matter. Respectfully, Bethany Hahn. I could use some water, frankly. Sorry. Email communication from Dan Schmarz. Sent to the city mayor and CAO. To Laurel Mayor and City Council from Dan Smarsh regarding state mental health facility. My wife and I live at 1940 Ranch Trail Road in Yellowstone County, just outside of Laurel. We have operated a business in downtown Laurel for 33 years. We have been fortunate to raise our kids here in Laurel and have always felt like Laurel is a relatively safe community to do so. I am not against a much needed state mental hospital. I am against the location chosen for the new facility. Thank you, Kelly. There has been a lot of valid concerns brought up, like it will be too close to schools and residential housing, property values, no tax benefits to Laurel, and the stigma it brings for future growth. Some of my concerns are with the current mental hospital in Warm Springs. The hospital has been under scrutiny for patient deaths and assaults. This has led to safety concerns for both the staff and community. They have struggled with staffing the facility, which leads to insufficient patient care and safety concerns. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services took away their certification in 2023 due to the facility's failure to meet basic health and safety requirements. The loss of federal funding has put a strain on how the hospital is staffed and operated. There is a 60 to 70 consistently on the waiting list for a bed, which puts a strain on the local detention facilities until room becomes available. The mental hospital in Warm Springs has been so insufficiently managed by the state that I am concerned about it being the same situation here in Laurel. I am concerned that our local law enforcement and fire department aren't equipped or staffed for this type of facility. I am concerned that staffing the facility may be difficult. The Yellowstone County Jail advertises on the local radio to find qualified employees. It takes a lot of employees to run a mental hospital, and even though we are the most populated county in Montana, this will be tough positions to fill, and turnover is high. I think this could put more financial strain on the city of Laurel and Yellowstone County in the future. Concerned citizen, Dan Smarsh. Sorry, I need a minute. Email sent January 21st from April Rose Kelly directly to the mayor. Dear City Council members, I am writing as a Laurel resident to formally express my opposition to the proposed location of the new state mental health facility within city limits, particularly given its proximity to Laurel Elementary School and established residential neighborhoods. While I fully support the need for accessible mental health services in Montana, I strongly believe this specific site is not an appropriate or responsible placement. Locating a large state-run facility within walking distance of an elementary school raises serious safety, planning, and long-term community impact concerns that deserve deeper consideration. In addition, the proposed site removes approximately 115 acres from the local tax base due to its tax-exempt status. This directly impacts city services and school funding while placing additional strain on local infrastructure without corresponding financial benefit to the community. The potential negative impacts on nearby property values and key community assets, including the golf course that brings significant revenue into Laurel, should not be dismissed. Residents deserve transparency, meaningful public input, and thoughtful planning, especially for a project of this scale and permanence. I urge the council to pause, reconsider this location, and explore alternative sites outside of residential neighborhoods and school zones that would better serve the facility's mission and the long-term well-being of Laurel. Thank you for your time and for considering the voices of the community you represent. Sincerely, April Myers. Can I get a minute? Do we know none of this is duplicative? Message sent January 23rd to the city mayor from April Zahn. Dear City of Laurel officials, I am writing as a parent and homeowner regarding the proposed forensic psychiatric facility adjacent to our residential neighborhood and within close proximity to an elementary school. Our community supports access to mental health treatment. However, the proposed location raises serious unresolved concerns related to public safety, emergency response preparedness, long-term oversight, and zoning suitability, particularly given the state's recent history of documented failures at Montana State Hospital. We are formally requesting an independent, publicly released community safety and risk assessment, clear disclosure of security, staffing, and emergency response protocols, a public forum allowing residents, school representatives, and first responders to ask questions on the record, consideration of alternative locations that do not place children and residential neighborhoods at heightened risk. Proceeding without transparency and documented safety analysis would be deeply concerning. We respectfully request a written response. Sincerely, Amber Zahn. And I'm going to state for the record that I apologize. It is not enjoyable to read all of this into the record on my part. But this is what we have to do as a city. But please forgive me because frankly, just reading this amount of information for this amount of time is hard. Email communications from Amber Zahn sent February 23rd to city council members, the city mayor. Dear Sir or Madam, I am a property owner whose land directly shares a boundary with the proposed forensic psychiatric facility near Laurel, Montana. I am writing to formally request detailed information and written clarification regarding anticipated impacts to my property and potential mitigation measures. Because my property is immediately adjacent to the proposed site, I will be uniquely affected by decisions related to facility design, security features, access routes, lighting, and future expansion. These impacts differ materially from those experienced by the broader community and raise legitimate concerns regarding property value, use, and long-term marketability. Specifically, I respectfully request written responses to the following. 1, security and design. The plan type, height, and visibility of perimeter fencing. Whether any anti-climb, razor wire, or hardened security features are proposed. The placement, intensity, and shielding of exterior lighting and surveillance system. 2, setbacks and buffers. The planned setback distance from my shared property line. Whether the state is willing to implement permanent buffer measures, including berms, landscaping, tree lines, or no build easements along the shared boundary. 3, access and operations. The location of access roads, staff entrances, and patient transport routes. Expected traffic volume and any anticipated use of sirens or emergency transport protocols. Hours of operation most likely to affect adjacent landowners. 4, zoning and future expansion. The zoning designation governing the site, whether current approvals allow for future expansion, additional beds, or enhanced security features without public process. 5, property value impacts and mitigation. Whether the state has conducted or plans to conduct a property value impact or diminution study for adjacent landowners. Whether mitigation measures or compensation are available for directly affected properties, including landscaping, easements, or other forms of relief. I appreciate the importance of expanding forensic mental health services in Montana. At the same time, I believe it is reasonable and necessary for the state to address the disproportionate impacts borne by adjacent property owners through transparency, mitigation, and good faith engagement. I respectfully request that responses be provided in writing and included in the official project record. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Amber Zahn. Communication sent to the city mayor on January 28th by Ariel Ronan. Hi, Mayor Ariel Ronan here, resident at 614 East First Street. I know you likely won't reply, and that's okay. I would just like to send you a piece I wrote this morning. I hope that it might provide some insight into how it feels to be a mother to small children in the city of Laurel at this present time. Sitting in the drop-off line at Laurel Elementary, waiting for my 8-year-old to exit my car, I'm watching other small children hop out of cars with backpacks half zipped and hair still messy, and I can't stop wondering, what's this view going to be like if there's a forensic mental health facility just on the other side of those trees? This is where we wave goodbye to our smallest schoolgoers, where we tell them to be brave, to be kind, to have a good day. It's where we trust that this space is safe, familiar, and meant for growing. And yet my eyes keep drifting past the playground, past the fence line, imagining something entirely different looming there. Something heavy, something that doesn't belong in the quiet rhythm of a school morning. I'm trying to be present in this moment, to soak in the normalcy of it, but it's hard not to feel a knot in my chest. It's hard not to think about what it means to change the landscape around our kids, not just physically, but emotionally. This isn't about fear mongering or ignoring the need for mental health care. But the reality is, this facility isn't about community mental health access. It's about criminals, mentally unstable criminals. It's about the dissonance of placing something so complex, so serious next to the place that's supposed to feel light and safe. As my child exits the car and I pull away, I keep thinking, our kids deserve spaces that let them be kids. It's unsettling to wonder how much that view and that feeling might change. Build the facility, Montana, on another piece of land much further away from our school. Thank you for your dedication to this town. Ariel Ronan. Communication sent January 31st from Mona Ray Atticus to one of our ward members. Dear Laurel City Council members, what tangible benefit does this proposed mental health correctional facility bring to the city of Laurel? What do the Laurel property owners receive in exchange for the inevitable decline in real estate values? Has the state committed to rebuilding all of Laurel's city streets, upgrading our water and sewer plants, purchasing a new ambulance for our community? We do not want this facility in its proposed location. It is too close to our elementary school. We have been told this project means jobs and growth. Please laugh out loud. Employees of the facility will not buy homes in Laurel. They will commute from neighboring communities. Meanwhile, our residents will shoulder the risk. Why the secrecy? According to Kurt's letter, Mayor Wigner was involved early in this plan. The city attorney was later informed and warned council members to remain silent. That should concern every resident. This feels disturbingly similar, just like how the Northwest NWE, but I understand the term to be Northwest Energy, gas plant was ramrodded through with little regard for citizen concerns. We urge you to vote no to the annexation of the approximately 114 acres owned by Miller Troyes LLC, Norman Miller. Vote no to the zoning change that would allow a forensic mental health correctional facility to be built on the Miller property north of Old Highway 10. Laurel residents acknowledge that Eastern Montana needs a facility to care for the mentally ill. However, we strongly oppose placing it less than 500 yards from Laurel West Elementary School. Please move this project back to the state-owned land north of town as originally selected. By doing so, you will provide the city of Laurel with more growth opportunities and provide a level of safety to the heart of our residential neighborhoods and schools. For the sake of our children, please vote no to annexation and the proposed zoning change. Respectfully, Mona Ray Atticus, and I apologize if I mispronounce that. Communication sent from Gloria Alwyn, February 3rd to the Laurel City Council members. We are not Laurel City residents. We are long-term Laurel residents living just outside the city. We live at 185 Golf Course Road, bordering the property being discussed about the Forensic Criminal Mental Hospital. We appreciate your willingness to serve our community. We respectfully ask that you do not approve the annexation of the property into the city. The city has talked about growth and wanting to improve the city. However, we do not see putting a facility like this being an improvement and not paying taxes to the county or the city. The idea it is so close to our K-2 elementary school is very concerning for our children's safety. This property could be used for taxable homes, and with that, the city could grow, helping with the tax base and supporting our schools, streets, water system, etc. With this type of facility being so close in the city limits, it will impede proper growth for the city and most likely cause the homes in the area to devalue as well. The lack of transparency by the city officials has been very concerning. Even though we don't have a vote in the city, the annexation of this prison does affect us, as does your vote. Please do not vote for the annexation of this property. Thank you, Gloria and Dennis Alwyn. Communications sent February 3rd to city council members and to the city mayor entitled Proposed Mental Health Facility and City Council Considerations. From constituent Patricia Tapman, entitled Proposed Mental Health Facility in or near Laurel, Montana. Dear valued city council members and Mayor Wagner, as I assume much of your correspondence is these days, I'm writing to address the proposed mental health facility in the area. While I am a county resident and none of you directly represent me, it is the county residents that will likely feel the brunt of the decisions that are on your shoulders. I appreciate the time that you will take to review this letter as well as the correspondence of others. In short, my household is opposed to the proposed mental health facility being at either identified location in Laurel, the property of Highway 10 that has a buy-sell agreement, and the state-owned property off of Buffalo Trail and Laurel Airport Road. We do recognize and appreciate that there is an extreme need in Montana for more access to mental health facilities. The problems with existing forensic mental health facilities and the shortage of space in both our county jails and our state penitentiaries. That said, a Band-Aid solution to a large problem generally leads to larger problems instead of solving the recognized problem. I will bring up the ones that are on my mind, and I hope you will consider them when making your decisions. Sorry, 1 second. I apologize. It's a lot to read. Number one, this has been shrouded in secrecy from the beginning. While I am not naive enough to believe that all decisions are made fully in the public light, this decision has huge implications for the community and public support that should have been considered, engaged before any employee or elected official ever entered into discussion or agreements on this topic. Moving forward at all will leave a huge distrust with the community consisting of your constituents and your county neighbors. Number two, the Highway 10 location is just so close to town. This has been a main talking point among community members. I realize the state's desire for cost savings based on existing water and sewer, the location to the West End interchange, and its benefits for getting both users of the facility and employees of the facility to and from there. However, conveniences and cost savings are not the only factors that should be considered. The proximity to an elementary school, the interstate and highway in general, established homes and businesses should all be considered security risks. Considerable consideration should also be given to reduction in property values, the overall strange aesthetic of putting a facility of this kind near a golf course and school, and what this means as Laurel's growth continues to be planned for. 3, the Laurel Airport location. I realize this is state-owned land, and while I don't know all that would go into putting the proposed facility here, I'm sure it would be less restrictive than having to be annexed by the city. My understanding of the situation was that this was deemed less feasible due to available water and sewer and the extreme costs that would be needed to develop those utilities. The city should never be responsible for upgrading these utilities solely for a state facility that will provide no tax revenue. Additionally, other considerations should be discussed. This is right next to an increasingly busy airport, which seems to also be a security risk. Laurel Airport is in no condition to facilitate more traffic. This highway is quite narrow and has wrecks on a regular basis, and that would be exacerbated by both the building of and running of this facility. It is my view as well that it would be an incredibly poor taste to put this facility right next to our city cemetery and our increasingly used state veterans cemetery. While a school is a bit further away than the Highway 10 location, it is essentially a straight shot to our high school, our health clinic, and a nursing home. 4, if this facility is built at either location, it will be the first thing visitors see when coming from either the west or the north. What will that do to the health of our community? Even the fact that our school mascot is the Laurel Locomotives, often shortened to Locos, seems that this facility will do nothing but bring a negative perception to our town. 5, this is just phase 1 of a project. This is probably my area of biggest concern. What will come of subsequent phases? It is known we have a severe shortage of mental health facilities, both forensic and otherwise. Will this grow to include more patients or prisoners? We know we all lack county jail space. Is this a plan for getting more? We know we have a shortage of incarceration space in our state-run prisons. Are these sites being looked at to help solve these problems? To my knowledge, these questions haven't been answered or even addressed, and they certainly haven't been addressed with any kind of legally binding assurances of what will or won't happen in the future. Will patients ever be released into the community? Will this bring in other state or privately run group homes or pre-release centers? What will be the city council's stance on that? Where will these be located? What will the security concerns be for those? In closing, I want to fully disclose that I have previously worked in a group home facility and that I also live on Laurel Airport Road. I come viewing this situation both with the recognition of the extreme need we have in the state, but also with the deeply held belief that these are both wrong locations for any such proposed facility or this type of development. Not from a quote unquote, not in my backyard mentality, but because these are categorically the wrong kind of locations for such facilities for so many reasons. Thank you for your time and service, and I wish you great calm and wisdom as you make further decisions. Patricia Tapman, Yellowstone County-based Laurel resident.
Only got about 30 left.
Letter sent from Colleen Mauer to the city mayor, the CAO, couple of state representatives, dated January 30th. Sorry, I just need a second here. Dear City of Laurel and State of Montana representatives, I'm writing as a concerned resident of Laurel to formally express my strong opposition to the proposed construction of a state mental health hospital intended to house the worst violent offenders. While I understand the importance of providing mental health services and rehabilitation, the placement of such a facility in the proposed location for individuals with a history of severe violence presents significant risks and concerns for our city, its residents, and our outlying county residents. Placing this facility on the proposed property will be the biggest detriment to the city of Laurel. The 140-acre parcel in question will not provide any tax benefit to our city and will kill the potential of any future commercial or residential development. These businesses and residents would generate tax income that would pay for water, roads, emergency services, and schools. The state of Montana will not pay any taxes on this property, therefore leaving the city's current residences and business owners to foot the bill. If you are a current resident of owner, you are current resident of Laurel, you already know that these services need tax dollars for ongoing improvement. The primary responsibility of local and state government is to protect the safety and well-being of its citizens. The proximity of this facility to Laurel Elementary School is troubling. Establishing a facility for violent offenders, regardless of mental health status, poses a direct threat to public safety. The potential for escape, inadequate security measures, and unintended interactions with the public cannot be underestimated. Our residents, businesses, and schools could be at risk should any security breaches occur. The presence of such a hospital is likely to have a detrimental effect on property values in the surrounding area, discourage new investment, and create a lasting stigma for our community. Families may feel less inclined to settle here, and current residents may consider relocating, undermining the fabric of our neighborhoods and the economic vitality of our city. I, along with many community members, feel that there has not been adequate transparency from state and local officials regarding the selection of the proposed site. Decisions of this magnitude must involve open dialogue with affected communities through, it says thorough, but I think what it means is through impact assessments and consideration of alternative locations better suited for such specialized facilities. Our mayor and CAO have been in discussion with the state long before letting the city council or the city residents know of their two-person plan. It's quite backhanded and has created serious mistrust in the two individuals involved. What gives two people the authority to go behind the backs of a whole community and force this through in such a hush-hush manner? I urge the city and state government to reconsider this proposal and instead explore locations that are more remote and specifically designed for the secure treatment of high-risk individuals. Additionally, investment in community-based mental health services and preventative programs can yield positive outcomes without placing undue burden on our neighborhoods. In closing, I respectfully request that you take these concerns seriously and prioritize the safety, well-being, and future of Laurel. Looking at the overall picture, thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Colleen Mauer. Communication sent to the city mayor from Laura Nelson on January 22nd. Good afternoon, Mayor. Allow me to introduce myself to you. My name is Laura Nelson, and I've been in the healthcare development industry for more than 30 years. I'm a Montana native, born and raised. My specialty has been in rural America. I'm writing to give you some positive feedback that I hope you will consider. My corporation, PPI, has been acquiring funding for building new and renovating old healthcare facilities and working with state senators and congressmen from all over the U.S. I do live in Billings. However, I come to you as my son and wife live in Laurel, along with many friends. When building a hospital, clinic, nursing home, jail, whatever project you have, and the state is involved, please maximize your potential by building it out in a large area. A vacant field between Billings and Laurel off of the highway and having the state pay for infrastructure, etc. Always build with the future in mind. This way you can grow, expand, or add on services that may be needed in future for these patients. The land in my projects has always been donated. I have worked with major donors all over the US as well. Once the land is agreed upon, then you will invite blueprints, architectural drawings. You may or may not welcome this information. However, building in any neighborhoods or next to schools does not allow you to expand, grow to maximize your future funding potential. For example, the Red Lodge Hospital was first built up against a mountain with neighbors all around. There was nowhere to make improvements, so you probably noticed that that is why they and Columbus Hospital are now built on the outside of these towns. So vital. I am currently caring for an elderly patient, but I'm available for questions if you would like to visit. I have assisted the Columbus Hospital, Big Timber, and the like, but I'm currently slowing down to assist with family affairs. I wish you nothing but the best and do thank you for stepping up to tackle this project. It is needed for Yellowstone counties. It says countries, but I assume it means counties. Ability overall to stay in the population's increase in crime. I hope this information is helpful. Sincerely, Laura Nelson. I'll represent to the public that I think I have about 10 more to go through, and I appreciate your patience. Communication sent from Christy Hansen on January 28th, sent to state representatives, the mayor, and city council members. Greetings from Laurel. I am writing to respectfully urge you to reconsider the proposed location of the Forensic Mental Health Hospital in Laurel and to relocate it to a more appropriate site. Laurel is a small, close-knit community that takes great pride in being a safe, family-oriented town with strong local values, growing businesses, and a positive future ahead. The placement of a forensic mental health facility in our community raises serious concerns regarding public safety, long-term economic impact, property values, and the overall well-being of residents. These concerns extend to the surrounding subdivisions, nearby neighborhoods, and the elementary school, all of which would become immediate neighbors to the proposed facility. How can this possibly be considered an acceptable option? I ask you to reflect on whether you would be comfortable with this in your own backyard or near your children, and if not, to consider why that answer matters for the families of Laurel. Laurel has worked hard to build momentum for growth and development, and this decision has the potential to halt that progress, deter new investment, and undermine years of effort by local families, business owners, and community leaders. We fully recognize the importance of mental health services and the critical role that they play in our state. However, I apologize. This is a lot to read. However, we strongly believe that this type of facility should be placed in a location that is better suited from both an infrastructure and community impact perspective, one that ensures patient care, safety, staff safety, and public confidence without placing an undue burden on a small town like ours. Laurel residents deserve a voice in decisions that will permanently shape the future of our community. We are not asking that these services be eliminated, only that they be thoughtfully and strategically placed, located in a place that better aligns with public safety, community development, and long-term planning goals for Montana. I respectfully ask that you reconsider this decision and explore alternative locations that will serve both the needs of the state and the well-being of local communities. Respectfully, Christy Hansen. This particular communication comes from Caitlin Gottschall, sent to the mayor, Kurt, myself, and city council members. Dear Mayor and members of the Laurel City Council, my name is Caitlin Gottschall, and I'm a resident of Laurel, Montana. I am writing this letter following the city council meeting held this evening, 1/27/2026. To formally share my concerns, perspective, and professional opinion regarding the proposed annexation of a forensic mental health facility into the city of Laurel. When I met my husband, I knew Laurel would become our forever home. We have built our life here with intention and commitment, purchasing our home, raising our child, establishing our careers, and investing deeply in this community and its people. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor. While this facility is sometimes framed as an opportunity for mental health employment, the reality is that forensic state facilities primarily employ psychiatrists, psychologists, correctional staff, and nursing professionals. Roles for counselors are limited and highly custodial in nature, and they are rarely filled by local outpatient clinicians. This facility would not meaningfully strengthen Laurel's mental health workforce, increase access to care, or support community-based therapy services. My clinical work centers around trauma, safety, and trust. What I have observed through this process is that the city has unintentionally activated a collective trauma response within the community. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn are predictable reactions when people feel unsafe or excluded from decision-making. Laurel is responding with fight. When questions are asked with urgency and emotion, it is not hostility, it is fear. Fear emerges when trust has been disrupted. Many residents feel blindsided and unheard. Rather than prioritizing sustainable growth, such as affordable housing for healthcare professionals, investment in local services, and workforce retention, the city is considering annexing a state-run forensic facility that offers little direct benefit to Laurel while introducing long-term risk. Once annexed, the city of Laurel would assume ongoing responsibility for municipal services tied to this facility. This includes emergency response, fire protection, medical coordination, infrastructure support, and mutual aid response. These responsibilities carry staffing, training, liability, and financial implications that remain even if state priorities or funding structures change. Community members are not passive observers or social media acquaintances. We are residents who have entrusted our elected officials with transparency, accountability, and honest communication. When information is shared unevenly or appears selectively endorsed through informal platforms, it further erodes trust and deepens community concern. As the spouse of a volunteer firefighter, my concerns deepen further. My home is structured around other people's worst days. I fear that our already stretched first responders may be expected to manage incidents involving a forensic population without specialized, ongoing, and fully funded training. Forensic psychiatric response differs significantly from standard crisis intervention. Without guaranteed preparation and resources, local responders are placed at risk alongside the community they serve. I also feel anxiety knowing my husband may be asked to give more time, energy, and emotional labor to support a decision that does not clearly support him or his fellow responders in return. I feel shocked that those entrusted with safeguarding this community would consider introducing a high acuity facility without a clearly defined and publicly presented plan for emergency readiness, responder protection, and long-term sustainability. Montana already faces critical shortages in healthcare and emergency personnel. Adding a high-demand facility without parallel investment in workforce retention increases burnout risk, turnover, and strain on systems that are already operating at capacity. As a mother, I apologize. As a mother, I am left asking how we teach our children to trust leadership when transparency feels absent. The individuals housed in a forensic mental health prison are not there voluntarily, nor are they stabilized for community integration. As a parent, I cannot support a decision that compromises my child's sense of safety. For clarity, a forensic mental health hospital is a secure psychiatric facility that evaluates and treats individuals involved in the criminal justice system, often those deemed incompetent to stand trial or not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. These facilities operate with correctional level security and house individuals who have committed serious offenses. Trust is built through consistency, transparency, and mutual respect. Safety is a reasonable assurance that individuals and communities are protected from harm and that adequate systems are in place to respond effectively when risk arises. Communication is the clear, timely, and honest exchange of information that allows informed decision-making. To date, there has been no publicly presented community benefit agreement outlining guaranteed funding, staffing ratios, emergency response support, infrastructure investment, or long-term oversight mechanisms that would directly benefit Laurel residents. You have already heard concerns regarding the lack of economic benefit. tax revenue, or expanded services this facility would bring. Other communities have expressed willingness to accept this facility where infrastructure and resources may better support it. This proposal is not comparable to the Billings Clinic Psychiatric Center, which stabilizes individuals in crisis. It is not Warm Springs. It is not Passages. This is a prison for mentally ill offenders. Opposition to this annexation is not opposition to mental health treatment. It is opposition to placing a secure forensic facility in a community without demonstrated benefit, adequate preparation, or transparent collaboration. Tonight, you have heard from many voices. This letter adds the perspective of a mental health professional, a first responder spouse, a mother, and a committed community member. This is probably the only communication that I have responded to, and for the purposes of the public record, I will read in my response. Dear Ms. Gottschall, I want to first state, as an attorney that deals with many issues that are both legal and otherwise in nature, including many that involve mental health issues, I thank you for your perspective and consideration on this issue. As the city attorney for the city of Laurel, I don't ordinarily individually respond to these matters because it's just not productive, nor is it often legal. So I don't want you to take my lack of response on this to be a lack of understanding about the importance of what you are conveying. I also hope that you don't find any lack of city council response to be the same. I have advised city council that they simply cannot respond on these matters right now based upon the legal stage of things, and they simply need to hear your comment and process it as they determine appropriate and at the necessary time that a formal annexation zoning matter is in front of them. But your words struck me deeply tonight, and I want you to know that. It was a long and hard meeting tonight, and it was hard for both constituents, our public, and our city staff. But it was incredibly important because this is exactly how city governance is intended to work. Thank you for your public feedback, and it will be read into the record the next meeting. Please know that you can appear at any upcoming meetings and speak in person. I personally appreciate you. I appreciate your clinical work. I appreciate the work that your husband provides to our volunteer fire department. I hope that you know that you are seen, we hear you, and I have full faith and confidence that our city council, who are wise and informed individuals, will evaluate all matters that are presented to them in an informed manner with the full record when it is presented to them. Communications, January 30th from Matt Kuntz to the mayor and city council members. Dear City Council, dear Laurel City Council, please accept the attached letter of appreciation from NAMI Montana for your support for the new forensic mental health facility. Hopefully it provides some helpful information about the genesis of this effort at the legislature, and how some of the challenges of Yellowstone County were tied to it from the beginning. NAMI has also been involved with the creation of the Galen facility in 2015. Hopefully some of the things that we've learned over the last 10 years with that facility will be helpful as well. I'm going to state for the record that NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, sent a letter to the city of Laurel, sent it to the Laurel City Council. I'm not going to read that into the record. It is multiple pages. It will be attached. Brittany, will you attach that to the record? And so anyone can read that. Sorry, what is this? But I think that's like X part of the disclosures. Okay, I'm not gonna, okay. Sorry, I think we only, well, I'd like to say that we still have a few to go through here. So, January 29th, communications from Jeanette Miner to the city mayor. titled Urgent Safety Concerns Regarding Proposed Mental Health Facility near West Elementary. Dear Mayor and members of the City Council, my name is Jeanette Miner, and I'm a resident of Laurel, Montana, and a parent of 3 children currently enrolled in the Laurel School District, including 1 child attending West Elementary. I'm writing to formally and strongly express my opposition to the proposed mental health hospital being built near West Elementary and surrounding residential neighborhoods. Excuse me. The placement of a secured mental health facility near a school where young children attend daily is a serious safety concern. Schools should be areas of protection, stability, and peace, not locations where families are left worrying about potential risk or emergency situations outside their children's classrooms. This decision directly affects the safety of students, school staff, and the entire Laurel community. Parents should not have to question whether their children are safe at school due to the location of a nearby institutional facility. We already ask our children to live with lockdown drills and constant safety awareness. Adding this facility only increases fear, anxiety, and risk. Those who approve this project must understand the responsibility that comes with such a decision. If incidents occur that impact our schools, neighborhoods, or community, the accountability lies with those who choose to move forward despite clear public concern. Families should not be placed in a position where they feel forced to sell their homes in order to protect their children. We should not have to leave the community we love because of a decision that prioritizes facility placement over resident safety. This hospital in this location will not bring peace or security to our neighborhoods. Instead, it will create long-term concern, increased emergency response activity, and lasting worry for parents and residents. While mental health services are important, their placement must be appropriate and must not compromise school safety or the community well-being. I respectfully and earnestly pray that you reconsider this decision. Please protect the residents of Laurel. Please protect our children. Our schools should remain places of learning, not areas of fear or uncertainty. I strongly urge the City Council to pause and reevaluate the location of this facility and to place the safety of our children and families first. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Jeanette Miner. That I think needs to be an ex parte communications. There are communications that have been sent to some degree to City Council members that at the public meeting next week, I asked them to disclose as ex parte communications, and I'll consult with them from a legal standpoint about how to go about that. Communications from Matt Gilg to directly sent to Councilmember Canopy. Dear Tom Canopy, I'm a resident of Laurel at 1200 Cedar Crest Circle, and I'm writing to urge you to vote no on the proposed annexation for the Forensic Mental Health Facility. This 32-bed facility would house justice system involved individuals just 459 yards from West Elementary School. Our community deserves transparency about how this location was selected and what security measures will protect our children and neighborhoods. Key concerns: no tax revenue to Laurel despite increased burden on emergency services, proximity to schools and residential areas, lack of public input in the decision-making process, inadequate information about security and safety protocols. The state cannot proceed without City Council approval of annexation. I urge you to vote no and demand full transparency from city leadership about this process. And actually, to avoid, because I imagine next week that City Council members will have ex parte communications that they need to disclose to avoid duplicative nature of things. Is that me? Oh, sorry. I am actually just going to read in these communications so that Councilmember Edgman does not have to read them into the record again next week. So that we're going to try to create some efficiency on this process. The transcript of a message sent to Councilmember Edgman is, this message is for Brent, City Council Member Ward, to councilmen concerning, and I'm going to state for the record, this will all be put into the public record with transcripts of voice messages. They don't come across well, so I'm going to summarize, but please don't hold myself or the city responsible for the summary of this. It will all be put into the public record. Concerning the State Forensic Hospital, mental health hospital that is coming to Laurel, I guess my only comment is if it does get to a scenario where the city council has an opportunity to vote upon it, whether or not, for example, a key thing is the annexation, the property into the city itself. What really is a councilman, I'm just kind of a reminder, I assume that you probably, are all in touch with your constituents, the people that voted you in, that you contact them and get a good cross-section of what they believe. Just kind of like when you're out campaigning, asking for their support. Now it's asking for their true, honest opinion. And, voting that direction. Thank you very much and have a great day. Message sent January 21st from Amber Zahn to the city mayor. Hello, sir. I write to you with a heavy heart, but as a supporter of you. I live quite literally next door to the site in Laurel, Montana of the psychiatric prison. I have to tell you, there has been literally zero transparency about this. So many people have been blindsided by this facility and what it really is. And now it's being built quite literally in my backyard where I raise my babies. This is absolutely terrifying. It's completely taking away any sense of security we have worked so hard to build. Now there is a plan to house criminally insane people where I raise my kids. Sir, it is literally in my backyard. It's less than 5 blocks away from where they go to school. Everything we have worked so hard to secure for them is being ripped away. Please, sir, see it from my perspective. A terrified mother who has done everything to ensure the safety of my children, who has done everything to raise them in a safe home. This is not okay. Please do not let them build this facility here. And Ms. Zahn attached a number of photographs of her home that will be included in the public record. That's what I think. Okay. Is that okay? And I think this about concludes things. Communications sent January 26th from Samantha Mays directly to the city mayor. Good morning. I am writing again to follow up on my previous email regarding the proposed facility in Laurel. To date, I have not received a response, which is deeply concerning given the scale and impact of this project and the level of opposition and confusion within our community. I am concerned and bothered that I have yet to hear back from you or any part of the state government involved in this matter. As I outlined previously, after speaking with Lee Deming, Vince Rickey, and our county commissioners, it appears that no local representatives were consulted or gave approval for this plan. What role did you and Kurt Markegard play in bringing this to Laurel? You have been effusive at best when it comes to answering this question, and as your constituent, it is deeply troubling. There are also serious concerns about the proposed site itself. The location is in a residential area adjacent to a school, youth softball fields, a golf course, and a public library. It is also within a mile of the CHS refinery. Given current land values, this raises legitimate concerns about whether the state may be overpaying for property that appears so poorly suited for this purpose. In addition, I am requesting clarification regarding the state's site's proximity to nearby oil refineries or related industrial facilities. Specifically, I would appreciate information on whether the proximity to schools and oil refinery and public facilities was considered during site selection. Why did you not loop Representative Deming and Senator Ricky into the decision-making process on this plan? Why not listen to our county commissioners? Do you have an evacuation plan in place if something were to happen at the refinery? How will you safely remove 32 criminally insane people from the facility without posing a danger to the community? Have you spoken to CHS about this? Have you been in contact with our school board or superintendent about the placement so close to the school? If not, why? Wouldn't protecting our children be the primary question to be asked here? Whether any environmental, air quality, or health impact assessments have been conducted in relationship to this site? Have you studied water tables? Have you reviewed safety concerns related to the proximity of the refinery? Have you done traffic studies? Have you done tax studies? Exactly how many dollars will this pull from our already struggling schools? What will happen to the real estate values in the area? Have you done economic studies? What will this do to expansion in our city? We are limited geographically on where we as a town can expand residentially or commercially. Have you researched whether this will impact future expansion? Most troubling is the apparent breakdown of the local governmental process. The majority of residents oppose this plan, and our city does not have the tax base to absorb the infrastructure demands this facility would create. Backdoor deals have been made without consulting the Laurel community. We deserve answers. I am again requesting clarification on your role in this decision, how Laurel was selected over other willing communities, and most importantly, how the voices of residents and elected officials are intended to be heard. The continued lack of response only reinforces the perception that this process has excluded the community most directly affected. I respectfully request a response addressing these concerns. Thank you for your time and attention. Samantha Mays. There was a follow-up communication with Ms. Mays on January 23rd, in which the mayor responded and said to the previous communications that I just read, a statement is being prepared. And Ms. Mays responded and said, thank you for this statement. However, it failed to answer any of my questions. Oh, I apologize. This is dated January 23rd. Thank you for the statement. However, it failed to answer any of my questions. I am requesting clarification on your personal support for this project. Publicly, the majority of Laurel residents and our elected representatives have expressed opposition, including Representative Deming, citing infrastructure limitations, tax-based concerns, and the proposed site's proximity to a school, youth sports facility, a golf course, and a public library. Given these concerns, I would like to understand what factors led you to support this plan and how you believe it serves the best interests of Laurel. Do you support this plan? What was your involvement in this decision? What was your role in this project? Has your office completed traffic studies, environmental impact surveys, neighborhood compatibility studies? What research was done to choose this spot when in Laurel right now there are plenty of other plots of land available for sale that would be much more suitable? Additionally, I am concerned by your activity on social media, specifically your likes on Facebook comments that are critical of residents and local officials who oppose this project. These actions give the impression that public concern is being dismissed rather than engaged with, and that opposition is being characterized negatively rather than being treated as a legitimate part of civil discourse. I would appreciate clarification on how you view the role of public input in this process. At this point, there is a strong perception amongst residents that decisions are being made without transparency and without respect for the local governmental structure. As mayor, your role is ensuring open communication and accountability is critical. I respectfully request a response addressing your support for this plan, the process by which Laurel was selected, and how residents' voices will be meaningfully considered moving forward. I believe the last communication that I can disclose of the communications tonight, or am disclosing of the communications tonight, was a communication sent to several of our city council members by a constituent stating, "Good afternoon. I thought you all might find this public record email helpful in understanding what happened with the land proposal. Here you gave the city administrator on behalf of land offering up the woods land to the state, despite claiming to the press that he had no idea why the state was looking at Laurel during the December 4th meeting." And I think what is screenshotted in the email is correspondence. I'm not sure what it's from, but says, Tuesday, Chief Administrative Officer Kurt Markegard said the city learned of the decision only after the public announcement was made. The state did not send me information on it. I had to go seek it once it went to the press, Markegard said during the meeting. And that is the conclusion of those emails. So I believe that covers the public disclosure this last week.
Okay, moving forward, we have public input. Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to have some time for other items? That's what section we're still in, correct?
No, we're not.
So
We moved out of that. That was
No, we
in,
moved
that was
that
in
out.
other items?
Yeah, we
Okay,
moved
I'm
that
sorry.
up.
thank you.
Oh.
If I may.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Attorney, thank you so much for reading all of those. That was probably quite the feat to do that. I appreciate that. And I also want to say thank you to the public for being so engaged in this, and I don't mind receiving the emails. I'm glad I don't have to read them all, but I don't mind receiving them, and I like seeing people here and engaging, and I appreciate that. I'm also grateful that Forrest is now on board. He is a great addition and trustworthy, and I think going forward, he will be very helpful in this process and very transparent as well. But that said, I think the majority of concern is how we got here. I had hoped that our leadership would release statements of substance or have some sort of press conference to address the many questions that have come in regarding this major issue facing our community. And unfortunately, that's not been the case. So I would like to take this time to address some of those questions, but not only the questions that the community has had, but that I have as a council member. So my first question is, Mayor, did you authorize, instruct, or encourage Kurt to pursue those, to pursue the state and direct the state to those properties?
I can't answer that right now. We have not got anything from the state.
I know we haven't gotten anything from
The
the state,
state
but
will
did
take
you
any-
instruct him
The
to pursue those?
state will take anything right now, and they could use it against us if this goes against them.
Did you instruct him to write those letters in August and November?
Yes,
Okay. Attorney, were you consulted on those letters? Were you given those letters before those were sent?
No, I was not.
Can you address why the attorney was not clued in on something that has such legal impacts for our community?
we weren't getting it. We did not approach them about getting it here. All we wanted to know was, what was it, was involved with it. We didn't offer anything. We didn't give anything. As far as we knew, it was going somewhere else.
Have you read the letter from August?
Maybe I haven't. I don't know.
But you instructed him to send it?
Yeah.
I think that's concerning. Have all the requests for records been answered? The public requests for records that
I
have been
believe
sent?
so. Yes.
Attorney, can you speak to your role in that process and what that's been like?
I am not aware that any of the public record requests have been answered to date.
You didn't answer them? You told staff you were taking care of it.
I will not do this. I will not do this. It's you, I will not do this.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Please.
Your question is, the public request been released yet? The public records? It was understood that there was discussion.
I'm sorry, Kurt, do we want to let this conversation go on public record?
Yes.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Okay. Last week, we had lots of things coming at us. Lots of emails, lots of questions from the community. And they were bombarding as we have sat through here tonight. And I can honestly say I had a lot of planning stuff to do once we hired Forrest to get all that stuff out, like I said earlier tonight. We had all that stuff coming in. There was direction from the city attorney to get all the information together and put it out there, to get that information out in public release. Starting yesterday, I asked our city clerk treasurer to contact IT to make sure we had the record for everything. And how they do that is they go into all the emails. So they go in and get access to emails throughout IT, not us. No one from the city will do that. It's IT gets in there. We need the authorization from the mayor to go pull search terms, mental health, hospital. I know what I have received. Those have been printed and sitting on the clerk's desk. And I think city attorney's desk since last week or this weekend. I came in this weekend and I made sure that because I'm going to tell the community, I wanted the weekend off. I really did. I wanted it off. I was tired. I hadn't slept all week. I heard the comments. I've seen what they've done to my family on Facebook. And I don't think that's fair, but I understand the frustration, the scare. I mean, it's scary. You talk about mental health and criminals. That's a scary thing. So with that, I came in. I completed all the documents. I printed them all off that I had received. Now, I can't go into your email. I don't have access to your email. I'm not going to go search your emails. We need IT to go in there and search mental health, anything else that would come in from the city or was sent out in order for the public disclosure. So we were trying to do that. I would say Kelly Strecker, the city clerk treasurer, was asked yesterday morning, she can confirm, to get a hold of IT and make sure that that is being processed. So Michelle Brockman, city attorney, has given us the search terms to go search for that. Michelle, can you nod if that's the case? So she gave us the search term to go and search for all the emails for public disclosure. Okay, so I came in on the weekend, I came here Sunday and I was printing off and I informed the city attorney. I said, I've done it, my part, I've got everything done. It's sitting on your desk. And then we realized who's going to release the information. We got to get IT, get everything wrapped up so that we didn't want to sit there and piecemeal it. You know, here's a little bit, my emails. I had my emails here last Tuesday. I had them right here. I sat here and I said, anybody wants to see them? We sat here. So I stayed here until 11 o'clock last Tuesday night. I stayed here till 11 o'clock last Tuesday night. I sat here with a Billings Gazette reporter, and I think a few of the people that are in this room, or they were earlier tonight. Right here, he's the one in there. So 3 citizens of Laurel and the Billings Gazette, and we sat here. I think there was 3 of us, 4 of us here, or 5 of us here until about 9:30, and then there was 4 of us here up till almost 11 o'clock. I had emails in hand. I even handed them to the Billings Gazette. I said, hey, you want those? He goes, I already got them from December. I don't need them. So we sat here until 11 o'clock at night. We sat around the table. We didn't even have separation between each other. I put myself right there in that seat, and I promised the council I would do that. Prior to the public comment, I said I would do it, and I sat there. And I listened to their concerns. I went over my emails freely, showing my emails. I made a commitment that I was also going to be there Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night, if that was what the community wanted. I would sit for that. So we get done 11 o'clock. I think around 11 I got home. Came to work the next day, trying to get all that stuff out for planning so we could free up, make sure we get all the rest of the documents put together. So that was that. Wednesday night, I came here. I opened the door, I turned on the lights, I sat in the chair. In fact, right in the center of the room, waiting for people to come talk to me. And nobody came. Nobody came, nobody came. Finally, Council President Canopy came here, walked in and said, Kurt, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm still here. I'm waiting. And he goes, I don't think anyone's coming. And so at 5:45, I walked out, locked the door and walked out. Thursday I was planning on coming, and I didn't feel good. So I went home that night, tried to get some rest. Friday, still wasn't feeling great, but I would have stayed Friday night if anybody would have called and came. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 people come up to the office. One, a former council president. He was on council for 16 years and came and asked about this facility. I engaged with him. I talked to him. I had another resident from Park City come and speak to me. I have been an open book from day one that, hey, you wanted to talk to me about it? Come see me. We'll sit down. You know, it's a busy, right now we're busy and doing planning and trying to get that out. We got RFPs going out for engineering services for a long time for, you know, a 5-year contract. We've got a lot of things going on. So long answer, Councilmember McKay, but we're trying to get that information out. We got to get IT. Kelly, I think, can you confirm you haven't even heard back from him yet?
No, the email was sent immediately after I was instructed to our IT, and IT, as of 6:20 tonight, has not responded.
You done?
How long typically are people given to respond to records requests? Attorney Brockman?
Under state law, there is not a specific time period. We typically, from a case law standpoint, as lawyers, gauge it based upon the statutory guidelines related to FOIA requests, which is typically 5 days.
Are we outside of that time frame at this point on most of those requests?
Yes, we are.
And I understand that it is a busy time and there's a lot to do. Attorney Brockman, have you made yourself available to assist with that? I assume that's something that you are quite seasoned with, given your many years of practice. Is that something that you've been able to engage with to assist with this process?
Well, I have a little bit of a problem right now because my resignation was just called on the record by the mayor. So I have a little bit of problem with responding to anything right now, but I will be transparent and honest. I respond to FOIA requests for the city of Laurel on a regular basis through our police department regularly. And yes, that is something that I am tasked with doing on a regular basis, but I am extremely uncomfortable right now based upon what has happened on the public record.
Anything else in others?
I have something, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Naylor.
I recognize that I'm extremely new to this table, this process. However, transparency and trust has been discussed a lot the last couple weeks. So I typed this up because I wanted to make sure that I didn't skip anything and misspeak. So bear with me, and then I have a couple questions at the end. As city council members, we are bound not only by our oath of office, but by the ethical standards set forth in Montana law. It's clear. Public officers and employees must perform their duties solely in the public interest without allowing personal considerations to interfere with a fair and impartial delivery of public services. Ethical governance is not aspirational, it's foundational. Public trust is fragile. It takes years to build, and only one failure, one lapse in judgment, or one act of opacity to erode it. When trust is compromised at any level of leadership, the impact is not isolated. It reflects on the entire organization and on the community we are entrusted to serve. The mayor, the chief administrative officer, and city staff carry a heightened responsibility to lead with integrity, professionalism, and transparency. Ethical conduct must be visible, consistent, and unwavering. Transparency is not optional. It is the mechanism by which trust is sustained, especially when challenges arise. We are not here to serve personal interest, political comfort, or internal convenience. We are here to serve the public's best interest, always. Leadership is not measured by title, it's measured by actions, especially when trust is on the line. With all of that said, I would like to ask Mr. Mayor, how do you intend to be more transparent with the community moving forward? And what specific steps will you take to address and correct the issues we are currently facing?
I won't do anything until we get a annexation request. There's nothing to do with that. We have nothing to do with it. The public has spoken. Everybody's spoken. Nobody has tried to get that in there. I'm not getting anything for it. Kurt's not getting anything, like we've been accused all over Facebook. We get nothing for it. So we just are, we were surprised as you were when they announced it. So, yeah, you can too. She asked me, but is it okay if he speaks?
In October. So, well, actually, let's go back to the start. We might as well start with the start, right? In July, the city was contacted by the State Board of Investments, Dan Vila. Okay? They were looking, so if you mind, Mayor, I just want to tell the story. We were contacted via email that the State Board of Investments was going to tour Yellowstone County to look at potential sites. It was to Chris, the city manager of Billings, Chris Kukulski, and to myself, inviting council and staff on a tour. When I read the email, I didn't read the title up there that said council and staff. It was, I read the thing that they were going for a tour. I had no idea what they were doing. No idea. I don't think anybody knew what they were doing, right? Nobody in the community knew except, so then they wanted a meeting with me and the mayor, a Teams meeting, and the Teams meeting was sent 10 minutes before a meeting was supposed to start to discuss it probably prior to the tour. Well, I missed it. I didn't know because they didn't send it. So I don't sit there and look at my calendar or in my email all the time. I don't have it tied to my phones. It's not going to my phone. So if you send me an email, I may not get it till the next day. So there was a Teams meeting, well, we missed it. We didn't attend. And so all of a sudden, this tour comes up on July 24th. I invited the mayor. I invited him to go into Billings. I had a dentist appointment, so I was late to the meeting. So they were having it at MSUB parking lot. They were going to have discussion and tour 5 sites around Yellowstone County. Now, the week before that, when I missed the meeting, I did have a call with BOI, and they were talking about land up by the airport. And they were wondering where the closest infrastructure was. And I was like, well, it's off the hill on West 12th Street. That's where it's at. And they said, okay, see you on the tour. So that day comes 24th, I go into Billings, I notify the mayor, I'm going into that. I'm late. I'm not gonna make the carpooling area up at MSUB. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna get there. So I call and I say, hey, where are you gonna meet? And I said, they go, well, we're going down to behind the sugar beet factory. So I was like, okay, some park. So that's where I went. Generally, I was the first one there, and then I wondered if I was in the right spot. And then all of a sudden, all these cars come. There's state representatives there. I can't believe it. Vince Rickey was there. I'm not sure if Lee Deming was there, but Vince Rickey was there. The city manager, County Commissioner Mark Morse, a few other people. There was quite a few people that pulled up into this parking lot, or actually it's a business across the street. And then nobody had the key to the gate. And I think that was reported in the news. I think the news actually was there for that tour. So anyway, they looked at that site, and then it's a park. And Chris had mentioned, or the city manager had mentioned, that park was tied up in a easement. When it was gifted, they had certain criteria that it was supposed to stay at a park. So that area was discussed. I just sat back. I didn't know anything about what they were doing. All I heard was forensic mental health facility. You talk about, I was really naive because I didn't know what they were doing. I had no idea. I didn't know that the state legislature had passed $26 million. I mean, did the council members know that? I don't think that you guys knew either. So I drive out to Lockwood. They go, the next spot is Lockwood. We go out to Johnson Lane and we go clear out. I mean, way past Lockwood. And they do that site, and I think it's state land. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention. It really didn't have anything to do with Laurel. So then they say, hey, we're headed to Laurel. They were headed up to I said, where are you going? They go, well, up by the cemetery. So on the way back from Billings, I called the mayor. And I said, where are you at? They're coming to Laurel. You might want to come to this tour, the site north of Laurel. So anyway, he shows up, comes up there with the public works director, and they're sitting there reviewing the site. And we really didn't know. Nobody sent me a map. I guess that day they had a QR code that you're supposed to click your phone. Well, because I didn't go to the carpool meeting or where they were having it up in MSUB, I didn't get the QR code. I didn't get the little card. I didn't get it. So we drive up there and they park at the county shops, which is for the National Cemetery. They pull into that area right off the road. Everyone's pulling off to the side. They're pulling into the gate of the cemetery, the National Cemetery. And they start pointing, well, that's it. That's the state land. So if you didn't know, it's north of Laurel. It's the sagebrush, right north of the Veterans Cemetery. And that's where it's at. They're talking about it. And I'm really not sure what was going on in the conversations besides they were talking about infrastructure, how far it is. And we all said, well, it's over the hill. It's down off onto West 12th Street. How far is that? That's a long ways. They then said, hey, they're headed to Billings. I looked at the mayor and I said, are you going to the rest of the tour? And he said, it doesn't have anything to do with Laurel. They're leaving to go to Billings. No. So I said, well, if you're not going, I'm not going. I'm not going to finish the tour. They're going to Billings. So I leave. I go down and I go eat. I hadn't eaten all day, so I went down and ate. I get a call and said, hey, are you finishing the tour? And I go, no, you guys are going to Billings. It has nothing to do with Laurel. So they said, well, you're really not going to finish the tour. I said, well, I suppose I could, but I don't know where you're at. And they said, because I don't have the QR code. I don't know where they're going. So I said, hey, I don't know where I'm going. And I think the call was to Vince Rickey. I'm not sure. He was calling me to see if I was finishing the tour. And I've come to learn after the fact, he was with Commissioner Mark Morris. So they were riding together. They were carpooling, right? They all jumped in the pickup. So anyway, I said, I don't know where I'm going. I don't have the QR code. I don't know where you guys are going. I don't know the land site. So I drive to the north. I go up Zimmerman Trail. I've never been on the new highway up there north of Zimmerman. I don't know how many have, but I've never been up there. So I call him back. I call Vince Rickey back and I go, hey, where are you at? I'm up here driving. It's wide open. Where are you at? He goes, well, you just keep going forward and you'll eventually come out in the heights and so you'll get up there. So I finally get up there. They're pulling off to the side of the road. We go up the hill. I get out, we go up there. There's still quite a few people up there. Council members, I remember at that point, there was a council member from the Billings Heights there, and she was also running for mayor of Billings. I do remember her. I've seen her on the news. So I knew who it was, and I said, oh, well, there's Jennifer, council member of Billings, and we go up the hill, is Vince Rickey and I and Joe with the DNRC, and we're on state land evidently. We walked by a walking gate and it's state land, and we're sitting there, and right there off to the left is a big water reservoir. It's huge. And I was like, well, there's water's right there. That's, you know, you're pretty close. Water's right there. And talking to the state, they came down and the BOI, Dan Vila, was talking to the Joe, I believe, and he was explaining to him again about state lands and the process to get state lands out of state lands and for beneficial use, because those are state trust lands. So they're meant for the school districts. They're not meant for the state BOI. So he was going through the process of how to get out of state lands into BOI ownership or something, the Board of Investments. They were sitting there talking, and they're in this big land. I mean, it's huge up there. And so my comment was, how much land do you need? That's it. That was the question. How much land do you need? And they go, well, we need about 10 acres. And I said, by the way, last weekend, I was driving to the farm and there was a for sale sign along the interstate or along the highway headed out west of Laurel. There was a for sale sign. I don't know what it costs. I just knew that there was a for sale sign on. They looked up on Onyx on their phone and clicked on it, and they go, well, that's 10 acres. So I asked the question, how much land do you need? They said 10 acres. They pull it up on Onyx. It's 10 acres. We left. They go, we got to go catch a plane. I walked down the hill. I was gone. That was the conversation. There was no more conversation. There was no. After that, they went back to Helen, I think, and the governor, the Billings, and the county commissioners in Billings put out a kibosh. The governor put out a statement that this statement is ending. Or, you know, they're putting a pause on it. That's when the mayor reached out to me and said, hey, we don't even know anything about what's going on. Can you reach out and contact him to find out what is the facility? No one's talking. The Department of Health and Human Services is not talking. The BOI is not talking. Nobody knows what's going on. County commissioners want to know. City of Billings council members wants to know. Mayor Bill Cole wants to know what's going on. In that meantime, the county put out a needs analysis, or I think that's what they called it. They put out this needs analysis that we're looking at the facility, what it would do to the impact of the community in Billings. They didn't mention Laurel. Laurel wasn't mentioned in that. So the governor put a kibosh to it, I think. I think that's what everyone's seen in the statement. They put out a kibosh. The mayor goes, hey, we don't even have any information to make a determination. So what do you have? Can you reach out and get some information? So that's what I did. They were already calling us about the water line and sewer line, because they'd already went back to Helena and looked at the property that was for sale. They saw it the day. They were looking at the property from get-go, because it was determined, I believe, that the state lands and going through the land board, all that county land or the state land, I said state trust lands, it would be probably pretty difficult to get that turned over to the BOI. And then that parkland in Billings behind the sugar beet factory was probably, they had some restrictions on that. So the mayor asked me to reach out to them and find out what a facility like this would be. What it would be, how it's going to construct it, what is the security protocols, all that. Did I mention the land outside the city of Laurel? Yeah. I'm not going to deny that. It was requested that, hey, what are they doing? Because we already knew that they were looking at the lot. They already been contacting us. They were already asking me questions. What about the lot? What about water and sewer? So yes, that's happened. They were contacting us because a simple little thing about saying there was a for sale sign. That was it. So anyway, I don't want to drag us all night, but the governor put out a kibosh. The mayor said, reach out to them and figure out what's going on. What is the facility supposed to be? How, we don't know. Nobody knows because they're not giving us any information. Then they come out and they say, we're restarting it. And there's an application process. On October 7th, we get a notification that there's a website out there, hb5.mt.gov, which I've told to the council members. I've told you to go look at it, review it. We get that notification. On October 8th, I sent it to the, Vince Rickey, Lee Deming, county commissioners. Sent it to them too. Said, hey, we just got that information. So I reached out to the county commissioners. I reached out to Lee Deming. I reached out to Vince Rickey. I informed this council. I came in front of the council and I asked to be put it on the agenda so that we could come and have a discussion about it and get the community involvement. When talking about integrity, that's what I wanted to do. Let's get it out in the public. And what did I tell the council at that time? The land that they were looking at was not in our jurisdiction. Council members, you have to speak on the jurisdiction within your boundaries. You don't have jurisdiction. To get jurisdiction, you must go through a public process, annexation. That's what you have said to staff to do. You will do an annexation that considers zoning, considers the growth policy. That's what you shall do as your job. 0822, or I think that's our resolution, our 0822, sorry. That's what you passed in, or this, not this council, but a previous council had passed in 2008. So with that, state says, hey, we're going to do a opt-in. I come to the council and I tell you, you can't opt in, right? Does everybody remember that? You weren't here, sir, yet. You weren't here yet, Councilmember Naylor. But I did come in front of the council and I spoke about this. And we spoke about what mental health is, just like the rest of these citizens and the rest of the comments. That is important to the people of the community to know that the criminals that are within our society have to go through their rights to get evaluated and to get then prosecuted and to get sentenced if they've done wrong in our community. That's a state's responsibility. It's our responsibility as citizens to make sure that is happening, that they're getting that mental health evaluation. They're going through the criminal justice system and making sure their rights, if they're not in the right mind at the time, that they're not being prosecuted without their knowledge of how to proceed with their trial. So they want to get them in shape to see if they can understand the criminal charges against them and then proceed with that and go down the criminal justice system that way. So we didn't opt in. Didn't do it. I didn't engage with them. I didn't talk to them. The deadline's on Monday. So anyway, they said, how did the council meeting go? And I said, watch the YouTube. I'm going to get back to this, why we had council. Prior to that council meeting where we had the discussion, I tried to call the BOI and have a discussion with them about the opt-in. And what you read in the Billing Gazette was true. I called him, finding out what this opt-in is to get clarification so I could bring it to council. What's this opt-in? I told him that I don't believe your process is appropriate for Laurel. That process cannot allow the council members to even consider it. If you're going to consider coming to our community because of a for sale sign outside the city limits, I wanted this council to have that right to talk about it and decide it. And that opt-in doesn't give this council jurisdiction to go talk about lands outside the city limits. He said he was in a fast pass lane, he was getting on the plane or getting on a ride at Disneyland. I'll call you back. And I said, don't bother. So I said, I don't want to hear from you because I was trying to explain something to you. He was, I didn't know he was on vacation. So didn't know he's on vacation. And we came to council and I told you the same thing. We're not opting in. We can't. This community cannot opt in because you don't have jurisdiction. So the deadline is on November, I think, 10th. There's a calendar out there on hb5.mt.gov. You can go see the timeline. It says timeline. Click on that button. You'll see their timeline. It ended on a Monday night. On Thursday, I get a call and it says, hey, how did I screw up? It's from Dan Vila. And I said, first of all, you didn't listen to me when I called you and so told you that the process was flawed, that any community probably can't do what you're doing because you didn't give the right for the public to comment. You didn't have a public hearing. What you're doing is, in my opinion, was wrong. It's wrong. Because you're sitting there going to pick a spot. Maybe it's in Miles City, maybe it's in Hardin, where the two communities that opted in. But what you're failing to do, zoning law and subdivision or any of the laws of the state of Montana, you have to follow public comment, public review. You get to announce your intentions. You get to then have the public come in and comment on that. So I'm in favor of what's going on here. I really am. That's exactly what we want for the community. We want them to step forward and say, hey, if this isn't right, it's not right in our community. Did I add about the land out there? Yeah, I did, because they were pushing me for it. When they asked me that question, the next day was my uncle's funeral. I was thinking about my uncle's funeral. I wasn't thinking about what the state wanted. So I wasn't in the office on that Friday. I wasn't. They pressed me, can we get a letter? I was like, hey, I'm at my uncle's funeral. I told you that. I said, maybe I'll come in this weekend. Well, the weekend came and went and I didn't want to do it. I did inform, as soon as they asked me for a letter, so they asked me for a letter why we didn't put in. So that's where we're getting confused. Why didn't you put in? And I said, you want that in a letter? They go, yeah, we want it in a letter. I go, because you didn't follow state statute. You didn't follow what I believed was the law. So I go to my uncle's funeral, go through the weekend, working at the farm. And on Monday I come in and they press me again. Can we get a letter why you didn't put in? So I sent a letter, and on the title head, which you'll see when the emails are released, it's annexation in the title head. Annexation for Laurel. Resolution R08, Chapter 76, annexation policies, state statutes. It's highly circulated, that letter. The state released it in December. So it's already out there. So people are already commenting on it. It's out there, yeah. So from that point forward, they wanted to come. They weren't getting any blowback from Laurel because we don't have jurisdiction. Billings, those county commissioners, they came out, spoke against it. The letter went out and they turned that letter of me thinking it's a letter of rejection. Said, hey, this is the reason why we didn't opt in. So I turned it as I thought it was a letter of rejection from the city of Laurel, not a letter of acceptance or a letter of interest. So I didn't use those words. There's not subject line to me, letter of interest. I thought it was a letter of rejection, say you can't do what you're doing because of the state laws and the Constitution. So we talk about it. I swore an oath too. My oath is sit there and be responsible to the public of Laurel, to the council members, to my family. I grew up in this town. I only want the best for this town. So I was pushing back, saying you can't do what you're doing without going through the public process. I sent that letter. Nobody can read an intent of a letter from a letter. This is my intent. This is what I felt. You're not going to do this to the community of Laurel without public comment, public hearing, go through the law. That's what I wanted. It's unfortunate they chose Yellowstone County in their legislature mandate from the governor and from all those people. If that's what the community thinks, that's the community's thought process. As city staff, we have to evaluate whether the process that they come to us is lawful. Right? That's our chore. What they do in the lawful way for them to come to the city of Laurel and get our services is annexation. And what you heard from tonight is Forest. They also have to go through the growth policy because the maps that we handed out says that future land use out there is residential. We heard from Steve Crum. We've heard from you. That's saying, hey, that's not in their growth policy. So when me and Forrest met this morning, we wanted you guys to have those maps because how many people you walk around with those? He didn't have it. He couldn't find it for the people that they contacted. So I said, well, let's print them out, hand them out because it's residential. Forrest explained that they have to go through a growth policy change in order to do that. You know how long it takes a growth policy to? A year, probably. If the council will even entertain it. You give council or direction to the city county planning board to change that growth policy. They don't give it to you and say, hey, we got an application and we're going to change your growth policy. That's for council to decide if the growth policy is going to be changed. You can't order the city county planning board to change the growth policy. It has to come from this body. So right now you adopted in 2024, you adopted a growth policy that stipulates the land that they have chosen, which we didn't have anything to do with that land. That wasn't even the lot. That was for sale with a for sale sign. So they wanted to go wherever they could, probably. So they asked for a meeting. They were debating what land they're going to make an offer on. They wanted me to come in and talk to them about annexation. They wanted to meet at 5 o'clock at night. I said, I'm not meeting at 5 o'clock at night. I said, well, can you come in earlier? Can you 1 o'clock? Well, I checked with the mayor. I said, hey, mayor, they want me to come into this meeting down in Billings. Would you want me to go? He goes, well, you better go find out what they want. I said, well, I think they're going to want annexation. Hence the letter that I sent out on, I think after they wanted a response from us. So I grabbed 3 annexation policies, the applications, and I went down there and I walked in. BOI wasn't there. Dan Vila wasn't there. He showed up about 15 minutes later. I said, do you guys own land? Did you purchase land? And they said, no, that's what we're here to decide today. I said, I'm here to give the annexation policy, R0822, the application. Here's the documentation. They go, do you want to know what the land we're looking at? I go, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know the land that you're looking at because if I leave here knowing that what the land is, then the mayor's going to ask me and then I'll have to tell the mayor because they didn't have any land purchased. They didn't. So it's kind of emu. You're sitting there saying, well, we should have involvement in it, but they don't even have an interest in it yet. Like Forrest said, they don't have an interest in any land outside of Laurel. So they're going to meet that day to discuss, and there's lots of people in there. And I walked out. And I said, we're not involved in that. We're not going to be party to them deciding what land to purchase. That's not my role. My role is there to hand out an annexation policy to give them the correct information of your laws that you have passed. And that's what I did, and I left. So after that, their little calendar schedule, they are going to meet with Hardin and Miles City. They requested a meeting of me and the mayor, and we thought we were going to finally get some answers about what this project is. Like, what are they building? Nobody has given us. We had to learn the site plan from KTVQ News just a couple of weeks ago. We still have never seen it. KTVQ sent it to us, said, have you seen this? Evidently, they had sent it to the legislative division up in the middle of December. But we never got it. Local people never got to see what the plans were. We got it from KTVQ News. That's the issue. Nobody was giving us information. So they're marching down this path. We have no information. The mayor agreed to have a meeting with them as they're coming to go to Hardin and Miles City. We had that meeting. We asked, what is the facility? How is it going to be secured? Is there a razor wire? All the questions that the community would ask. We are tasked to sit there and try to figure out for you. What is this place? What are they doing? In all the years of me being in Montana, I knew about Warm Springs, Galen, and I think Boulder, but I've never visited any of them. And I'm not sure how anyone else has visited them. So I don't even know. I'm not a criminal justice information person. I don't know the legal ramifications. I don't, like a lot of you in the room, we don't know what goes on in the criminal justice system in order for people to get sent there. I don't know how people get to Warm Springs. I don't know how they get out. I don't know if they're free to come and go. I think Galen is a secure one, from my understanding. You can't just wander in and out, and that's the facility. So that's what the state is looking at, trying to overdo with their overcrowding. And that letter came from hb5.mt.gov, where we found out the Department of Health and Human Services. So I want to address one of the comments. We didn't know. I didn't know about the press release that they were coming to Laurel. I didn't. No one sent it to me. My comments there, I had to go look it up. That is a true statement. Nobody called me and said, hey, we're coming to Laurel. Well, I should say that. I didn't answer the phone that afternoon. I was upstairs working. It was Black Friday. So I was upstairs working and I missed call. I went over to my phone on the desk and I'm working and it's Dan Vila. And he goes, hey, just let you know, we're coming to Laurel. But he never sent me a press release. When I said to this council, I wasn't informed prior to the notice. They didn't send me a press conference. They didn't consult with us that said we're coming to Laurel. They never asked for permission to come from Laurel because they're not in our jurisdiction. The land they were looking at was not. But after that, they even announced it. They announced that they were coming to Laurel and they didn't even have land purchased. They didn't, because I went to that meeting. They didn't have any land purchased. So it's all speculation in the community. Where are they going? We don't know. We didn't even know. I'll have to get to you. I'll get it to you. October 7th is when they sent the notice out and I sent it to everyone else. House Bill 5. That's when we got notice. But when they made the comment that they're going to come to the city. So when I spoke at council, and I think this goes about my integrity, I was speaking that they never sent me the press release. I was told they're going to Laurel, but they had no, that's what was it. It was a conversation. I didn't know where it was going. Nobody knew. In fact, they didn't even know. They didn't know until they told the council 2 weeks ago. So that's a true statement when I said that I had to go look it up. I had to go find, and you know how I found it? I Googled it. So my integrity has been called in question over the last couple of weeks. I had to Google it to find the press release. Just like anyone else. The press knew before we did, because they had released it because I hadn't answered my phone. So when the press knows before us, that's where we're at. The press release went out because evidently maybe they were waiting and they kept calling it and they weren't getting an answer. So maybe they just released it. I don't know. You'd have to ask the state why they didn't put out a public statement or let the city of Laurel know prior to the public comment or the press release going out. So I got called and I said, he goes, hey, just let you know, the press release went out 20 minutes ago. I go, on what? They said, we're coming to Laurel. So immediately I wanted it in front of this council and I came and talked to you, or I think we were at the meeting. I can't remember what meeting that was. December 2nd. Yeah, December 2nd. And I think you asked about it and I said, hey, I had to go find it myself, the press release. I had to Google it. So anyway, that's how we got there. So we've heard the concerns. We've gotten the emails. I'd like to say that this is exactly what I wanted from the community. I wanted them to speak up. Is it productive the way we're going about it now? I don't think it's productive because it's dragging all of the city staff down. Instead of working on our other projects that move in the city along and keep going with our daily projects, we're sitting there constantly looking at our emails, looking at all the comments coming in, and we don't even have an application like Forrest said. Like the mayor said, we don't have an application. So we don't want the council to prejudge anything. Like Forrest said, you want to make sure the state has rights? The community has rights. The council member that you do your due diligence and deliberate on the issue if it's even asked of us. So we know their intent because they announced it 2 weeks ago that they're going to seek annexation. That's when we knew. So we were put on notice 2 weeks ago. Now we've been reactionary the last 2 weeks. Everybody's unknown. Nobody knows what's going on. We think they're going to put an annexation application in. They told us they were. Forrest Sanderson got the call yesterday. They want to talk about the growth policy. He called me. So last night I came back into the office because there were some concerns about my family and to the concerns of the community. Yeah, I had a family member die in a fire Friday night. So I grew up with her. And my condolences to her family if they're listening tonight. My family. Anyway. So I came in on Sunday to get my emails so that you guys could have them, not only you, the community. Last night I came back to review because I thought there was text message or something coming on. I don't receive them anymore, text messages. I came back to my office to see if there was an email from the city attorney asking me if I'm okay because she heard from somebody in Miles City that my father had passed away. So I came back last night and I got the voicemail from this person that was referring from Forrest Sanderson over to myself about they're looking for the growth policy. So that's how I spent my evening, wondering why do they want the growth policy, spending all night thinking about it, coming in this morning, contacting Forrest because they had contacted him and he referred him over to me to get a copy of it because they couldn't find it. You heard Forrest tell you, they couldn't find it. Forrest came in this morning, we were looking the growth policy over, looking over those future land use maps, and we saw, hey, they're residential. That area that they've chosen, residential. So we gave you the maps. We're trying to be transparent. We want everyone to have them. I said, let's print out 50 copies. In fact, I wanted to print out bigger maps, and our printer upstairs that print the big maps, it wasn't working. So I had Brittany look up Office 360 or somewhere to look up printer ink cartridges, see if I could go get them somewhere so I could print a larger map for everyone to see. So we didn't look at these little properties on little maps. And so she told me Selby's might have it. So I took a little thumb drive. Brittany put it on a thumb drive, the maps, these little maps that you got. And I ran into Selby's to go get a maps printed out so that you guys could all see the growth policy, the future land use map, and the existing use map, which is agriculture. It's green on your thing. If you look at that one, it's green. It's agriculture. Huh? Yeah. So anyway, so that's where we're at. Now I asked the council to sit there and take the public comments. Let's have discourse, common discourse. Let's have different opinions and ideas. But as staff, you asked the question, my integrity is everything. I spent 22 years dedicating my life to this place. I want public comment. I want public disclosure. I want that. That's what I wanted from the beginning. I want you to be able to have an informed decisions. And I didn't feel the state was going down that road. So I was trying to be the voice against them to say, you have to follow law. That's my role.
Councilmember Closey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening when Forrest Sanderson spoke to us, my interpretation was that everybody in this room, in this community, are supposed to operate under a smooth thinking, not get over involved or emotional about this until more information is being put out. Right now, I think the state of Montana is doing a total injustice to this community because they're pitting those people against these people, you people, because they're not being forthcoming to us. to be drastic, I'd send our police force to Helena and handcuff those people and bring them here and sit them in that chair and tell us what's going on. Because all they're doing is creating a lot of havoc in this community. They're pitting the mayor against everybody, Kurt against everybody, our attorney against everybody. Our city council members have questions. Our community has a lot of questions. And I think we have to prevail with some common sense here and get the state to come down here in person and talk to us. I think they chickened out on us last Friday. I was told they were going to be next door at the front porch and they were going to meet with our Chamber of Commerce. So that doesn't give me much faith in the state of Montana with what they want to do here. If they want to really be partners with the city of Laurel, then come here and talk to us in person and talk to those people because they need answers. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Councilmember Canopy.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment that I'm trying to learn a lot more here. And by going back and look at past meetings that we've had, and one just particularly stuck out on me, and it was, well, it didn't make sense, but October 21st, 30 minutes and 15 seconds into that meeting, we had, and I'm going to read this to you, CAO Markegard introduced Senator Vince Rickey and House Representative Lee Deming to council. Both represented Laurel. He briefly reviewed the items included in the council packets, and it goes on. And if you watch that video, you watch Mr. Deming standing at that podium. Yeah, Laurel needs this. We need this. We didn't have an opinion. We weren't supposed to form an opinion. We're here to, you guys elected us. We're here to do what we're supposed to do. But that, and even before that, there was a call from the gun club, or the gun show, that those representatives were at a gun show, and it came in from Dan Vila that, oh yeah, they're going to Laurel and they want to do this mental hospital. This is people just talking. But our representatives sat here and told us that it would be a good thing for Laurel. But now they're backpedaling Michael Jackson style. And you know what? We're trying to be transparent here. I love what I'm doing, but this is really hard watching us beat up on each other. So all I can say is go back, look, watch. I mean, give us a chance. You elected us to do this. Give us a chance to do our job how we should. You know that we are going to represent the people. You know we're going to take all of that into consideration. And at this point, that's really all I have to say. I just think that give us a chance. Let us do what we're supposed to do here. That's all.
Anything else under other? Now we'll move back to public comment. Citizens may address the council regarding any item of city business that is not on tonight's agenda. The duration for the individual speaking under public input is limited to 3 minutes. Last week, you did a fantastic job. When I tapped it, you were perfect. You just stopped and another one came up. Hopefully we can do that again tonight. So with that being said, she has the timer. Whoever would like to come up first, name and address and state what you got to say.
Sorry, I lost.
Shauna Hopper, 504 Roundhouse Drive, Laurel, Montana. So I had a lot of things planned out to say through the last 2 hours. I'm just going to pinpoint a few things. One is going to be yes, there may be a protocol that you had to follow. However, Bill Cole stood up with his city council immediately and put a kibosh to it. Our city council members in our community were not allowed to speak up, and that is something that should have been immediately brought in front of our community. I stand before you as a citizen of Laurel, lifelong resident, local business owner, and advocate. I solely speak on my behalf, representing my beliefs, what I feel is in the best interest of the city of Laurel and its citizens. First, I would like to say thank you for all your service and reiterate, no one's family, spouses, children's, etc. should be target of negative comments or retaliation. I do not wish harm or malice on anyone's family and believe most of our town is respectful as well. I would also hope that my voice, my comments would not have impact on my family personally or professionally as well. The big thing here is the lack of communication. The lack of communication could have started when you didn't know what you were talking about. And if you would have started talking to people back then, 95% of this could have been handled differently. So yes, the state could have handled it differently, but so could you and the mayor. It could have came. Doesn't matter that it's outside of city limits. Lockwood, Skycrest, those weren't inside city limits. Those could have been brought to our attention that they are looking at our community. And then we could have spoken up long before now. I have handed out packets with information regarding the release of documents and everything. We've been asking for 2 weeks. Another simple solution to you not having time, to everybody being bombarded, would be a simple email stating, I'm sorry, this stuff takes time. But as of to date, only one email has been responded to. So had one mass email went out to all of us, this also could have been kiboshed. The safety of the children in the community and the first responders is what concerns. What kind of training will the state provide the city? Will they pay for the full-time department so people risking their lives actually get paid? What will ensure that our town will not go without services the residents pay for? MCA 50-6-101 legislative purposely talks the focus on public welfare stakes for emergency services. Montana Environmental Policy Act. I know this has to be reviewed. I know there is a process to this. This is the steps that we need to be getting.
My name's Maggie Hansen. I'm in Ward 3, and I would like to give my 3 minutes back to her.
Thank you. Although I do not know these answers or what all these statutes are referring to when you look through these packets, I'm sure you guys won't as well. Kurt might not, Mayor might not, Michelle, the attorney may not. However, no communication, no transparency, and no information at all is the direct problem here. Finally, my last thing is, what kind of can of worms are we opening with this extra 104 acres? My understanding is they are looking for a new spot for the Montana Women's Prison, Warm Springs, halfway houses. Are these the type of facilities that we want in our community? These the type of residents that we want to subject our children to when we have protected them and stood up for them as much as possible? Please take the time to look through this. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody's dedication, but this is a serious matter and it could have been stopped long ago by simply communication.
Renee Roth, 1649 US Highway 212 South, Laurel. I just want to thank you guys for your service. Being an elected official is not easy. I sit on the school board. I'm here speaking personally tonight. I don't speak on behalf of the school board. But my concern remains with the proximity of the school and the lack of communication with the school. And that lies on you. Because even the 10 acres that you claim to have mentioned and pointed out is still within a mile of a school that you knew well about, because we went through this process with you, adding on to the schools and annexing our other new school into the city, and the process that it took for that, which at times was painful. But you didn't bother to make a phone call to notify our schools that that was a possibility. Yes, it was outside of the city, but our schools are in this community and you failed to act on that. We could have responded as a school district, as parents, to students in this community had we known, but we didn't know. And you have an obligation to communicate. The one thing as an elected official that I've learned is we don't like to be surprised. We want to be transparent even when it doesn't agree with our morals. It doesn't agree with what we believe, but we want to be communicated with. We don't like surprises. We don't want to be surprised at an open meeting like this. We don't want to be surprised with phone calls or people approaching us in the community and us looking like idiots. And that's what some of this went on. These people had to sit back and say, I have no idea what you're talking about. And that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for them professionally in the role that they're in and elected to do. And it's embarrassing for this community. And I hope that at the end of this, you and the mayor can admit that you made huge mistakes. You violated the public trust and transparency in this. And it doesn't just affect you guys. It affects the schools. It affects every parent in this community. And I'm sorry as council people that you guys have had to go through this, because I know that as an elected official, it's very difficult to be surprised and feel like you're the ones in the dark. It really shouldn't happen. And I hope that moving forward, everyone's learned something from this. One, to ask questions, and two, to be more transparent in your position of trust in this community. Thank you.
Brian Lubinsky, 327th Avenue. I have 3 kids. All 3 go to school here. You guys as elected officials have been fantastic. I pay attention. For the most part, we haven't had an issue. And unfortunately, I'm going to give a speech I usually give my kids to Mr. Markegard and Mr. Wagner here. It doesn't, you need to come clean about things before you're actually found out. Because most of this stuff that we're finding out is because we found out on our own, and then we're coming clean. At first it was, we didn't know. Then it is, oh, well, this happened, and then we didn't know. Oh, well, this happened, and then not knowing doesn't change the fact that you still have to do your job correctly. Not answering a phone call. I lost somebody. I was in Missoula this past weekend. It doesn't change what happened 6 months ago. You know, as elected officials, it's different. As an appointed official, you're definitely going to be under more scrutiny. And timeline of events, and we've all seen the letter, intent with the words like perfect spot isn't a declination letter. This needs to change. And it's very simple to come forward with just the truth instead of long stories and sitting here trying to make yourself look better about what happened. Own it. Hey, we messed up. Here's how we're going to fix it. Because truthfully, when you actually mess up, you can fix things. All of this could have been solved a whole long time ago hey, I'm in over my head, I don't know what's going on, and it's done. The community can get behind you and give you an opinion, some guidance, but brushing it under the rug isn't going to solve anything.
Amber Zahn, 1224 West 4th Street. I want to start off by saying, Jody, Sarah, thank you for being the voices that we have needed you guys to be. Michelle, thank you for being honest. This is bringing transparency back to this conversation. When I say that this proposed facility is out in my backyard, there is no exaggeration to that. You've seen the pictures. This is where I raise my kids. Like, they go play in this yard with our dogs, our goats, our horses. We have everything wrapped up into this property. The only reason we were even able to purchase it is because of inherited money I got from my dad passing. So we've all lost people. I want to know now that we are being transparent and honest and open. If the state has rights and we have rights and your community has rights and we all want this being done transparently and open and honestly, and none of us seem to want this, where do we go next? What are our next steps? We have the right to say no. You know, I had such a different speech come out, but this whole night just transpired in a different way. But I just want to say, we need to change this. There is a different way to go around it. And thank you, ladies, for being the voices that we've needed. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Gilg. I'm at 1200 Cedar Crest Circle. It's my first city council meeting. I don't really know much about this kind of stuff, but I know that what's happening right now is not okay. I have some questions. Well, first, I wanted to state that I found it really weird that you expect the public to come down at 11 o'clock at night to read through documents that could be an email or just sent out to everybody like they asked for. The other thing I want to ask is, Kelly, you said that you sent that email to IT when you were instructed to do so. What time was that? Because we had heard nothing since, by 6:20. Was it sent at 6:10?
The email was sent yesterday,
Okay, and who instructed you to do that?
the mayor.
Okay. Another question I have is about public record and how that works. I did hear the mayor say under his breath to Michelle, "You're not helping us." Who's us? Mr. Mayor? So she's not helping the city is what you meant by that? It was you're the one that said it. Okay. So will his tantrum, the part that we couldn't hear, will that still be on public record? The other things that he said under his breath? But if it didn't make it onto the recording because he was whispering, will we still be privy to that information? Okay, and then, yeah, I also thought that your speech could have been an email. I find it incredibly offensive that you wasted all of these council members' time just droning on about stuff. And that's all I've got, so.
Steve Crump, 249 24th Avenue West, Laurel. Thank you, ladies. I was impressed, and I'm sorry things got as hot as it did, but it seems like this stuff does happen, and it seems like the priority is towards what the other guy wants, when the priority should be for the people here. I've been through a lot of meetings like this before, and one of the things that happened over and over again is every time somebody comes up with a reason why this plant or this facility shouldn't be here, as long as you talk to them, in this case, the state, oh, we'll take care of that. We'll have giant fences around it. Oh, you're scared somebody's going to get let go. Oh, we got quality people. Nobody will ever get out of that. Oh, no, that isn't going to happen, or this isn't going to happen. I mean, I've heard it before. You're not going to smell it. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to feel it. All of that has happened. And so they're going to tell you whatever you want. And Kurt brought something up the other day saying there is laws that you have to follow. And I was happy as heck to see Forrest here because he will force that issue if you let him. And I would ask you to do that because he really does know his job. But that being said, the law, if you read the laws, I read thousands of pages with what I went through, thousands of pages. And every ordinance, every code, every resolution, in there, it also says that you must protect the rights of existing property owners. And that is the city of Laurel and the surrounding community. And so why don't you just get up and say, no, this does not belong here. There's state code that says it doesn't belong here. Why are you doing this to us? We shouldn't even be having these conversations anymore. You guys put together a letter, send it back to them and say, no, state, we don't want it. And if they're gonna sue us, say, hell yeah, come on, we'll sit on a jury trial and we'll go through it. Because we don't want it here. We just don't want it here. And I don't think you guys do either. So just say no. That's all I'm asking. Just get together, all you guys send a letter, just say no. Thank you.
Monterey Addicts, 102 8th Avenue, Unit V. I'm pretty much echoing what Steve Crum just said. The Pandora box has been opened. I want to hear tonight, before we leave, what is the next step? How I understand it is the annexation application's going to come in. And then you folks get to decide what you're going to do. Why can't you tell us tonight what you're going to say when that application gets here? Because we need to know if we're going to be able to sleep tonight or if we're going to be able to do our jobs tomorrow due to the anxiety that you have caused this entire community. And I don't mean you guys. You two have caused immense annexation anxiety with everyone. So I want to know tonight, what is going to happen when the state sends that application in? Forrest is going to go through it. What are our rights? Can these people just say, nope, we don't want to annex you? Who's going to say yes here and who's going to say no? That's what I want to know tonight. I'm in Ward 1. You two represent me, but you guys are just 2 of 8. Can you guys give us a sense of where you're at? You've heard all these letters Michelle read and read and read and read. Where you at? Thank you, Jody. I appreciate you standing up. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you standing up. Irv, Jessica, Richard, Casey, where are you guys at? Brent? No comment? They're able to tell me, right? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I don't know the rules. But we kind of would like to know, so vote no.
I'm gonna give my 3 minutes to Shauna.
So I know there's a process and everything like that. So you being the knowledge people, city says, no, we're not going to annex it. What's the state got on us? What does the state have on you guys that they can do it? They can't just put sewer, they can't, septic tanks, they can't do tie into city services, even though it's not annexed, because I know there's a lot of residents that have city services that aren't annexed into the city. So what can we do to ensure this doesn't happen?
The R8, the resolution of annexation, indicated in that resolution that those water agreements that went before, that says you get water, they also did is come in front of the council and say, I'd like water on, say, West 4th Street. There's a lot of people in the county. They on water? Are they still here?
Yeah, I have water.
You have water in the city? Are you in the city limits? Right.
I have water.
You have water, you're not in the city limits. So in 2008, The council said enough of that. We're not gonna keep doing that because we need to expand the city. Why would you annex if you have water, right? That's the major thing that you got, because the well water, you don't know what the well water is around here. It's terrible. So they wanted well water so that, say the Main Street, there's a 2-inch line out there. That's a West End Water Agreement. It was, I think, the 50s, the Herman family, the Groeschel family extended that out on their own, and they came in front of council and they asked for services. And the city council granted them. And then guess what? No annexation because sewer isn't out there. So that resolution annexation policy stipulates that they shall not give any services outside the city of Laurel limits. That's where staff is sitting. We can't give it. We can't offer it. We can't tell the state that they can have it. The people that can tell them is right here. These 8 people that are elected. So they are the ones that get to say no, and no, you're not getting our city services. I can answer for that. I don't know what the state will do if the council says no. I don't know. I don't think they own the property. They indicated, they indicated that they were doing a buy-sell.
If that's something that only council can speak to, then why did you offer it up as a selling point in your August 22nd letter? Because I've been in business for a while and I know a city's letter and I see one. If you want to talk. That's not what I need to say, David.
The mayor asked me to contact the state to see about coming to Laurel, but we didn't know what the facility was because nobody was telling us. The state was not informing Billings City Council. They weren't informed the county commissioners. And so there was pushback from them because they didn't know. We didn't know as well. The mayor didn't know. It's not incompetence. Nobody knew what the facility was.
City services if you don't know what's being built there?
We didn't know the dynamic of what the facility was.
Bitch, sewer line and 8-inch water main.
True.
You advertised those things.
They knew about it already prior to the letter.
Sold it.
They knew about it
That
before.
column at this point is open. You sold it August 22nd.
They already knew.
You sold it.
They already knew.
They already knew.
They already knew.
Then prove
I told them on the tour.
it. And it was still you.
I told them when we were up there, there was a for sale sign.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Pauline Hammer, Ward 111 Yellowstone Avenue. Mostly, I thought what was read into the record was really well spoken. And so I didn't really feel like I needed to add a specific point of view, except for just to let my name go on record to say I share a lot of those concerns. I appreciate getting to be here and listening to the conversation. I really appreciated you reading all of those things into the record and being able to hear all that. I thought was really powerful. I did appreciate people who asked really pointed questions in respectful ways. Overall, I felt like most people handled the tense conversations pretty professionally, although I want to be honest that I was pretty disappointed in the way Mayor Wigner, you handled some of that interaction with our city attorney. I was really concerned about that, and that really undermined my trust in your leadership on top of some of these other questions that are going on. So I just want you to know that that was something that really stood out to me in this meeting, while at the same time really being appreciative of everybody else. And again, I just really mostly wanted to have my name on the record as one more person in Laurel who's concerned about the many ways that this could impact our community. Thanks.
We still have business. Anybody else? Okay, moving on to executive review. We have finance. The clerk treasurer will bring these forward.
Are you gonna read?
We have resolution of the City Council of the City of Laurel, Montana, amending resolution number 25-75 and affirming continuation of services under the managed service agreement for renamed systems technology consultants.
So what this is you guys signed a contract with Morrison Merrily Systems. They have changed their name. So all we are doing is changing the resolution for the contract to match the new name of the systems technology now. So that's the only thing that's changed there, just the name change.
Any questions? Okay, next we have another finance resolution. It's a resolution of the City Council approving a transportation coordination plan for the City of Laurel Transit.
So what this is this doesn't have to be presented every year. As you're well aware, we have a transit service throughout Laurel. And we have to come up with a coordination plan because we do partner with Allies in Aging. And so this year at our TAC meeting, or recently at our TAC meeting, we noticed that the coordination plan was written with Adult Resource Alliance, ARA of YC, instead of Allies in Aging. So in order to apply for the grant for the bus service, we have to change this plan to who we are partnering with. And then we did go through some of it and a few things changed. We added a new bus because we did get the two through grants, got the new 2023 Transit, which was not on last year's coordination plan. And so this is just updating the coordination plan so that we can continue to, one, get the grant and two, run the Laurel bus service.
Questions on that? Okay, we'll move forward to council issues. Discussion on the BNSF communications tower. Do you know what that is?
I have no.
Kurt, do you know about that?
So what was sent over to the council is notification from BNSF that they are going to build a tower. They have federal jurisdiction within their yards. If you read their letter, it is courtesy notice. So that is, they're just informing. When I received the communication, I wanted it for you to know so that if you saw something being built in the rail yards, that they had notified us through, and I thought, well, we put it on as correspondence, but then how do we really know when you read into correspondence, if the council members get it, that there's actually something going to go on? So I thought, well, let's throw it on here as discussion. It doesn't need to go to council next week. You don't get a vote on it. It's just, hey, they're going to build a tower. I think it's 120 feet. My memory serves me right. And they're giving us a cursory notice that they're building a 120-foot tower. So anyway. Oh.
Councilmember Banks.
Sorry. From what I was reading in there, it should just be like the one that's already there. And it's only a few feet from that current one that's there. Are they just replacing it, do you think?
I don't know. I just
the
go off of what
secondary
they've
one?
sent us. Same thing as then. It's a courtesy review. I read it. I forwarded it over to Brittany to get it onto the agenda so that you guys could have it and review it for yourselves. So you knew what was going on.
Yep.
Okay, attendance at the upcoming meeting? Any announcements? Councilmember McKay.
Thank you. Just a reminder that Monday, February 9th is our next Public Works meeting. That is not on our usual date. It's a week ahead because the 16th is President's Day. So especially if you're new to the Public Works Committee or old to the Public Works Committee, February 9th, Monday, Public Works here in this chambers at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Councilmember Canopy.
Yes, I'd like to make a notation that we are going to have the Tree Board Park Board February the 5th at 5:30. We are taking the meeting down to the American Legion Hall at Riverside Park. And I've notified everyone that I could that's on that board.
Anything else? Councilmember Closey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to follow up on what Council President Canopy just announced. That if anybody else wants to attend that meeting to be in attendance, to see what was done to that building down there, they're welcome to do so. Thank you.
Anything else? No. Okay, we are adjourned.